It is 6 a.m. Mile High City on this election day, Tuesday, November 5th. Good morning. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710, KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. We've made it to election day, and we've got a whole lot of coverage for you. Not only the Jeff and Bill Show starting at 6 to 10 a.m., you've got Charlie Kirk from 10 to 12, Dennis Prager 12 to 2, Sebastian Gorka from 2 to 4, Larry Elder from 4 to 6. And then we kick it off back here in Colorado with Peter Boyles leading live analysis, along with myself, Bill Thorpe, Mike Rosen, John Caldera, Patricia Calhoun, Dan Kaplis, Brother Jeff, Ted Trempa, and many others. My goodness, that is a fantastic lineup for all of your election needs. Stay with 710 KNUS. We're going to talk all things election today. I posted a question on Twitter that blew up yesterday. What's better about Colorado with Democratic control? And the the comments were amazing. We'll talk about that. Who do you think's going to win today? Phone lines are open the entire time. So give us a call, 303-696-1971. Is it a Trump day? Is it a Harris day? What about all the 14 statewide ballot initiatives? Well, a poll came out yesterday from CU Denver. We'll be talking about that as well. And we've said it from the beginning, and a lot of folks have agreed with us at the national political level that it will come down to Pennsylvania. I just happen to know a guy who used to be a U.S. Senator there, and he's going to be joining us in the 8 o'clock hour. Rick Santorum will give us some analysis on Pennsylvania in the 8 o'clock hour. And then I only felt it was apropos to finish, Bill, with our good friend George Brauchler, who sat in this seat for a while and couldn't do so because of FCC rules when he decided that he was going to run for office. So we're going to check in with George Brauchler in the 9 o'clock hour. So it's going to be a fantastic show, and then all the stuff throughout the day, this evening, and then Billy and I will be back tomorrow morning for post-game analysis. We may not know the presidential tonight, but we'll likely know some of the statewide ballot initiatives. So we'll talk about how that may change your life. So let's check in first on news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. Before I begin, when you guys vote, or if you go in person, whatever, and you do the whole thing, what would you like to receive from the location? All the officials there, what do they give you typically? Don't they give you a sticker?
Yeah, a little I voted sticker.
I want a donut.
Right. And okay, you want that?
Yeah,
no, I'm right there with you. That wouldn't be bad either. Okay. And what would you like to see on that sticker? I voted, and what else? What color do you think?
Red, white, blue. Oh,
Thank you.
Colorado did the weird little stickers this year, didn't they?
That's ridiculous. The Columbine flower. I love the Columbine. I love the state flower, but it says I voted in English, and it says I voted in Spanish on the bottom, and it's a Columbine flower. Don't you?
What is Spanish? Yo quiero voto.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, don't you feel cheated if you don't get an American flag sticker or something red, white, and blue? I do anyway.
Yeah, it's like the landscape, and I think they did a contest for it.
Yeah,
that's what I want. I want kids to design them as contests. I think that all of our voting stickers should be designed by third graders. That's what I want.
Yeah, that's what I want.
That's all I want. I just want third graders doing the stickers. That's all I want. We can do that. I'm fine. I don't care what's on there.
Okay.
I don't care if it's a picture. I don't care if it's a picture that little Alice, the third grader, has drawn of her kitty cat mittens. Don't care. I don't care.
But it needs to look like a third grader did.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. No, I'm right there
about
with
my art skills as well. So
I just think red, white, and blue should be in it. I mean, I'm like, what is this? I voted, and I have a Columbine on, I have a flower on there. I'm not patriotic about, anyway, just a little pet peeve. My stupid little brain working this morning, so I didn't know you guys.
Well, and that's a good reminder, Blake. You cannot mail your ballot at this point.
Yes.
So don't go put it in the mailbox. You got to drop it off at a drop box or vote in person.
Amen.
You have till 7 tonight.
There we go. All right, get ready for a long day, a long couple of days. It is here, 29 and partly cloudy in Denver. expecting a high of 52 today. The 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
So they came after his family, his business, and his freedom.
Yes, they
one
did.
Hoax, one injustice after another. But Donald J. Trump pressed on because he wasn't fighting for himself.
No,
He
sir.
was fighting for you.
They're not coming after me, they're coming after you, and I'm just standing in their way.
The Democrat Party tried to throw their opponent behind bars, but Donald Trump would not bow down to tyranny.
I will never quit, I will never bend, I will never break, I will never yield, not even in the face of death.
It's election day, and RTD is giving free rides today. No fares will be charged on all RTD buses and light rail trains. Colorado voters have until 7 o'clock to vote in person or submit their ballots at a drop-off location and get the Columbine flower sticker. So far, voters in El Paso and Jefferson counties have cast the most ballots. DJT on stage at a rally in Grand Rapids, Michigan until after 2 o'clock this morning. Grand Rapids was also Trump's final campaign stop in 2016 and 2020. Kamala Khan capped off her final day of campaigning on the steps of the Philadelphia Museum of Art in front of a crowd of some 30,000 people who were treated to a performance of God Bless America by Lady Gaga. Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly both endorsing DJT, and Kelly was spot on.
He got mocked by the left for saying he would be a protector of women. He will be a protector of women, and it's why I'm voting for him. He will close the border. He will keep the boys out of girls' sports and where they don't belong. And you know what else? One more thing. He will look out for our boys too. Our forgotten boys and our forgotten men. Guys like you.
Amen to that. The former president.
The biggest there is, I guess, in that world by far. Somebody said the biggest beyond anybody in a long time. And his name is Joe Rogan, and he's never done this before. And it just came over the wires that Joe Rogan just endorsed me. Is that right? Thank you, Joe.
Colorado, Arizona, Florida are among 10 states with measures on the ballot that would amend constitutions to establish a right to abortion. Nebraska voters will vote on both an amendment that protects abortion access and one that bans it. If both measures are approved, the one with the most votes wins. The Department of Justice will be monitoring voting in 86 jurisdictions in 27 states today. The department says it plans to monitor compliance with federal civil rights laws. South Dakota Secretary of State told the DOJ they can be poll observers, but may not be poll watchers like representatives of candidates, measures, or political parties. Denver City Council has voted against removing more than $3 million in police recruit funding from the city budget. The council voted 10-3 Monday against an amendment that would have eliminated a police academy class next year. Forecasters say Tropical Storm Raphael will approach the southern U.S. later this week. The lower and middle Florida Keys could experience tropical storm conditions beginning late Wednesday or Wednesday night, according to the National Hurricane Center. The Chiefs are still undefeated after a 30-24 overtime victory against the Buccaneers last night. Pat Mahomes threw for 3 touchdowns, and Travis Kelce caught 14 passes for 100 yards. 25 in Arvada, 26 in Littleton, 29 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. It is Election Day 2024, Tuesday, and we've got all the coverage coming up for you today right here. I'm Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
There's going to be a lot of weather in Colorado in the coming days. Be prepared. Today, it'll be partly cloudy, chilly, gusty northwest winds, highs upper 40s and low 50s. A chance of snow showers tonight. Watch for slick roads, lows mid-20s. Chance of snow early Wednesday. Could see an inch or two, highs 30s. Flurries Wednesday night, a low near 20. Flurries Thursday, highs mid-30s. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free, no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show on the special Election Day coverage. How's it going to go? What's your gut tell you? Give us a call at 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. We promise no legal advice on the Dan Caplis Law text line. It's just a way for you to reach the studio through your text 720-819-5115. I'm going to get to this in Colorado Political Climate Survey that came out yesterday from the University of Colorado Boulder. Not going to want to miss this. This will give you a good insight into what he thinks may be going today. But let's check in first on the hotline with Peter Boyles. Good morning, Pete.
Morning.
On my way to the gym, I thought we've been doing these promos, and I thank you both for allowing me to do it, but we've been doing them in the 9 o'clock and in the 8 o'clock, and I thought, well,
let's hit the 6 a.m. Those early birds.
Yeah, the fun
catch
listeners.
you boys early.
Yeah.
So Pete, you got to give me your take so far. What's your gut tell you tonight?
You know what? I've been saying this. I've talked late last night. I talked to Dean Singleton. I've talked to so many people like you guys that I respect. I would not want to live on the difference tonight. But I can paint several scenarios. I suspect both of you guys can, standing on your heads. I have this feeling that this isn't 2020. This is more like 2016. I've been reading some of the political thinkers about that we may know early. Like, remember in 16, they knew early, even though we know that Hillary dogged it and stayed backstage at the Javits Center. She had called. She had made the telephone call to President Trump, and she had thrown the towel in, but just wouldn't admit it. It could come. I don't know if it's early because early is relative, but or covering his bases. We could be Friday. We could be Thursday before we know. Guys, I would not want to lay money down on this one.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. There's no way I'd want to make a bet on this one.
You know, I'll be brutally honest. I'm a guy with a master's in political management who built part of his career in working in campaigns. I thought Mitt was going to win in 12. I lost. I thought Clinton was going to win in 16. I lost. I thought Trump was going to win in 20. I lost. So I emotionally, I'm all over the place. I didn't think Republicans were necessarily going to have a great night in 14. Here comes Cory Gardner on a train and takes out Udall. I mean, maybe I shouldn't be hired.
Well, how about recently the fellas, the Red Tsunami?
Yeah, 2022.
2022. That's right.
That's what I think is. I think that we're going to find out a little bit more about the polling. I think that we're going to find a little bit more about the aggregators. I spent some time yesterday, like with the 538s, the Nate Silvers, and while they are good, they're still an aggregation, and so they don't allow for outliers. And Pete, you're a stats guy; you understand statistics, and when you're doing that type of work, you should have some outliers. And the 538s, the Nate Silvers, the aggregators don't allow for outliers simply because they're not doing their own work. They're aggregating. So is there a herding mentality going on with some of the polls? And is there some stuff that we don't see yet? And we don't know if that means positive for Trump or positive for Harris. We have no idea. But I think we can be pretty certain there are some shadows out there that we're not really certain exactly how this is going to go.
Remember two things about polling: who pays to have the polling done.
Yep.
Once you find that out, then you can have a tremendous insight. I'm just reading the first American president to really look at polling, and I think we talked about this, was John Kennedy, and he found this young pollster by the name of Lou Harris, now a monster name, and they would work with Lou Harris, and Lou Harris helped the Kennedys, although a lot of debate about the win itself. But he was the first American president to look at the polls, and that was this young fellow by the name of Lou Harris. Guys, I don't know. I mean, we put a lot of stock in polls, but then, if it's the poll that says I'm a good guy, I love it. If it's a poll that says, Billy and Jeff, I could.
Oh yeah.
You can flip polling. Well, no. I mean. But here's one for you guys.
Yeah.
Tomorrow at this time when you take the show, you think we'll know?
Oh, I think it depends on how the numbers are in Pennsylvania and Michigan.
Yep.
If we have a good hold of those two, I think we'll know. If we don't, but I also think bellwether early on, Florida and Georgia could really tell us the direction, because Florida has implemented a law where they have to report the early vote within like an hour and a half or 2 hours of when the polls close. So we should get numbers really quickly out of Florida. We're not going to be hanging around like, in the 90s looking for Broward County and wondering, when's that going to fall late? That's not going to happen.
But to that point, Bill, there's always things you just don't know.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, who would have thought hanging chads in Broward County would have been as important in 2000? So, and you're dealing with seismic shifts in the party basis, right? I mean, this is not, the Republicans are not the party of Mitt Romney anymore or John McCain. They have wildly changed. And that's part of the reason why nobody can pick this stuff out. It's not like the difference between 2000 and 2004, where you're like, the same people are going to show up. Can they just get more of their people?
Yeah.
I can't tell you who our people are and their people, and married housewives are no longer Republicans. They're now over with them. I mean, it's just crazy.
Which could be part of the reason that we can't count right in the polls, as we don't know who's going to be going. So basing something on a large Democrat turnout or Republican turnout might not be telling us anything at all.
Yes.
Based on how the parties.
My sleeper tonight is South Carolina. Keep an eye on South Carolina. Or that's my sleeper. Georgia, you're right. I think the first to report will be Florida, and that will be in Donald Trump's side of the ledger. You guys are right about Georgia, but I got a feeling that South Carolina is the real sleeper in all of this. But then if you're really talking about the truth being, it's a 7-state election.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, we know what Colorado's, not in terms of some of the amendments and campaigns, but the outcome, where do the Electoral College votes go? They're going to go to the vice president.
Yeah. And we know California, we know Washington, we know Montana. Yeah. All those are all ticked off.
New York. Sure. We know that.
They're all done. Yeah.
So it's a 7-state race. Keep an eye on South Carolina. Keep an eye on Georgia, like you said. And we'll be there. We'll
Hey,
be there.
now
tonight
speaking of being
in
there,
the studio.
you have got like an all-star lineup with you tonight. Tell us about who's joining you tonight, because you have reached into your bag of magic tricks, and you've got some people that you're pulling off of the retirement bench to come in tonight.
So, point down the bench,
Yes.
and then point to your left, to your left elbow.
Exactly.
Send me to lefty. I dreamed this up. Actually, it's a lift from what the guys used to do at the Broncos. And Billy, I know your mom and dad, and Jeff, I know your mom and dad were big fans back in the Orange Crush days. Well, the combination of Martin and Zimmer that were really an award-winning broadcast team at KOA. So someone came up with this idea of turning on your television, turning down the sound, watching the plays, but turning on Larry and Bob and watching the game. So that's always laid in the back of my head someplace. And I thought, well, why don't we? And I've never done an election night before. So when I got the green light from Kelly, the first phone call I made was, believe it or not, was Mike Rosen.
So smart.
Who has been a veteran of, I don't know, 25 of these, maybe 30 of these. And Mike's going to be with us. And then I thought, who next? And it turned out, we're having it catered, guys. I mean, come on.
Fantastic.
That's one of the reasons I'm coming after bar trivia. I'm coming in. I'm going to swing by, just get the food, not to see all.
Well, and then somebody we all love, Patricia Calhoun, I talked to her. And she said, do you mind if I join you? And I said, of course not. She said, well, I'll be blogging live. And she said it's going to be a lot more fun to sit at 710 than it will be at Democratic headquarters. And I said, you're welcome. That's a true story. And we went down the list. And so Dean wasn't going to be able to do it. And I talked to him last night, and he's going to be, as we know that, he's wheelchair bound, and he's going to go to a very quiet place. He hosts a big party. And at 9:00, we'll be able to see some trends, I think, by 9:00, fellas. That's why I'd love to see you guys come in. And Ted Trimba is going to co-host. I have an opening act with a young man. A guy on a list, Dick Wadhams, will be with us. It's just, it's just going to be a fun night. Tom Tancredo, put a little icing on that cake.
Tommy T in the house.
That's fantastic.
Tommy T. I really, modestly, he said, I have some passion in this tonight. And so I'm going to go sitting outside the gym, go work out hard. I'm going to doctor and go to Centogenics, eat some breakfast. Then I think I'll just go put my feet up. And
rest, get ready.
We start at 6. Oh yeah, but I don't know, fellas. And have you guys thought about making an early return tomorrow?
Yeah. Depending on what happens tonight, we'll have to see.
Yeah, we're thinking about it. The thing for me is like, I got to make sure I can turn the computer system off, because the computer system hates me. So that's it for me. It's not a matter of getting here. It's a matter of this computer system. After they changed it on us, this thing is evil.
Everybody, just as an old part-time retiree, everybody in there complains about the computer systems at Salem.
Everybody but the engineers. Yes.
Yeah, well, engineers, you ever notice, and I don't know, you guys have hung around a little bit, but in the old days when they come in and do a clean sweep on a format on a radio station, the only two guys left standing are the engineers.
Yep. The only two guys that have to be there to keep the radio station on. Yep.
Everybody else can go look for work. But I think tonight, we were talking yesterday with Joel and some of the folks at 710 on the other side of the hall. And they said, this could be a tradition. And I said, it could be. And it would obviously hand it off to you two to make this a tradition of a call-in night. I mean, what's going to make this night so? Now I feel like it's Passover, but what makes this night different than any other night? The callers will be the show. The guest will be them guests. But you can't imagine Channel 4, 7, or 9 taking calls during the time when they're making projections. And so the rawness of talk radio, I think, shines through tonight.
And amen to that.
Absolutely.
Peter Boyles tonight, along with an all-star lineup that includes Patricia Calhoun, Dan Kaplis, brother Jeff, Ted Trimpa.
Oh man,
my goodness.
Oh yeah,
this will be great. We will see it tonight.
and it's crossing a lot of lines. I mean, that's one of the
That's
things
right.
I was talking to Dean last night, and I said, it isn't like, like conservative radio keeps the Republican guys on, the TV guy goes to the libs and go to the Democratic headquarters. This can be, if it works, can be an amalgam of thinking. And the final question I have is, I don't know when to shut it off. I don't know what time to say, but that'll be enough for tonight.
Yeah,
Brenda Lee.
My guess is whenever the food runs out. That's just what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, you know how that radio station works. If I take a second, Mike Boyle.
Yes.
Who knows more about food than Mike, and who knows more about getting free food than Mike? But we got a burrito a burrito bar.
That's great.
How's that?
That's
so I'll see you boys for burritos tonight.
Absolutely, my friend. That is fantastic.
And please bring your families. I mean, I'm going to have so many friends I know are going to come in and eat a burrito and watch the show, and it's just going to be. I would love to see you two guys and your families. That'd be great.
Oh, thanks, Pete. I appreciate that. Again, Peter Boyles kicking it off at 6 p.m. tonight.
It's going to be amazing.
Along with Mike Rosen, John Caldera, Patricia Calhoun, Dan Kapler's brother Jeff, Ted Trimpa, and many others. All your election coverage that you need right here on 710 KNUS.
We will see you tonight, Pete.
All right, fires in the dumpsters, boys.
Take care. Oh, he's the best. This will be so much fun.
That is a
tonight.
lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, how's it going to go? What do you think? There's a new poll out from CU Denver. They asked 800. Some of these statewide amendments are a little like,
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm excited to hear what you have.
And how is Kamala Harris, Donald Trump going to play in this state? We'll get into that in just a second. But as I mentioned, he's going to be here tonight. He's crossing over. The big man himself, Dan Kaplis, is going to be on 710 KNUS. What a gift to us. I've known Dan for well over a decade. This guy's pro-life, pro-family, pro-America. Shares your values. That matters because you don't want to hire somebody if you're in an accident because you saw him go by on a bus billboard. You want somebody you can trust. And that's Dan Kaplis. He's the son of a police officer, former seminarian. He's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. But so what if he's a great guy? Can he win? Yes, absolutely. He is the winner. Listen to this. Dan Kaplis is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. It gets better. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Kaplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Kaplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. You're probably saying to yourself, well, I can't afford this guy. It's not true because Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis. That means he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, why don't you just put his phone number in your phone? Because I doubt you're in a car accident right now. But if you are injured, you want to be able to quickly pull that up. Go to your contacts, put in Dan Kaplis Law. Here's the phone number, 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551 or hit dankaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS Law.com. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. If you haven't voted at this point, I don't know what you're waiting for. You got to get it done today.
Yeah. They won't let you vote tomorrow. It's weird.
Yeah, right.
Yes. Some people in college had that happen.
Despite what Jimmy Kimmel said.
Yes.
Here's a question. Can you wear a MAGA hat into a Colorado polling place?
No, I don't believe so. It should be electioneering.
So within 100 feet of any building where a polling place is located, influencing voters, soliciting votes, or political persuasions is prohibited.
Yeah.
You cannot circulate petitions or solicit signatures. So
yeah, so you can't do it walking in. You can have to be 100 feet away. And even if you think that it is, your right of free speech and the government doing this, here's the thing is, these are volunteers that are sitting there and they're members of your community. Are these the people that you really need to get in a fight with to prove your politics that day? You're already getting a chance to vote. Is your shirt or your hat mean that much to you? I know people have shown up already, and we had a 70-year-old election year worker punched in the face by a person because the person was told to, not here in Colorado, the person was told to take their hat off. They took their hat off, they voted. When they were leaving, they came over, yelled at the person, and punched the worker in the face. So I'm listening. So the idea is, if that is so important to you, maybe just sit this one out. Again, if you have to wear your hat or your shirt into the polling place, maybe you need to address something a little differently. You need to talk to somebody about what's going on in your life. If it absolutely have to wear it for this 3 to 5 minutes that you're going to be in the polling place, you can't put a jacket over the top. You can't take your hat off. Really? Choices, people. Choices.
Also carrying giant AR-15s around.
Yeah, that's
like happened in 08. Yes. Maybe not the best.
Yeah, it's
all right. CU Denver, actually CU Boulder, has put out a survey yesterday. They interviewed 800 residents of the state of Colorado, and they tried to match kind of along voter registration lines, and they asked not only presidential, but generic Republican, Democrat, and some of the ballot initiatives. And we'll dive into those now as well as into the 7 o'clock hour. So is this an indicator of where it's going to be? Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, where do you think we fell along that?
Oh, I think we're going Harris. Like quite a bit.
Yeah, but number wise.
Oh.
So if it was 55-41 in 20,
I'd say Harris at 60, but I haven't seen the numbers.
It was almost exactly the same, 55-41.
Really? Oh, there we go.
So it is, at least this poll is right along with the results of where we were in 2020 in the state of Colorado.
And I think that's interesting because the comment has been made over the last couple of years is all these liberals from California turning this into California. If we saw that, my guess would be that number would be, and that's why I guessed 60. Up. That's why I pushed it up, because I figured the liberals coming in would change, but we're not seeing that change. So it makes me question that assumption about the liberals coming in and changing us to California, but continue.
All right. Gender.
I think everybody had one. 100%
including
on that
those
one.
space rhinos.
Yes, exactly. 100% on
Harris, 60 to 40. This one breaks down isn't exactly 100%, but it does look more like the gender gap we're seeing across the country.
Yeah.
So 60% female for Harris, 45% to 37. So let me read this again. 50% male to 59% female for Harris. So this is why it doesn't add up to 100%, because you have more, because you have the combination of male and females here. Trump, 45 male, 37 female. So again, the gender gap going here in Colorado as well. The ladies like in Harris, the dudes like in Trump. By the way, my social media feeds are all dudes get out and vote. Dudes get out and vote. Yeah. Dudes get out and vote. It's like, that's not a good sign.
No, it's and I think they've realized the problem with this gender gap. And I spent some time, and we can get into this a little bit later. I'm not going to go too nerd on this one, but after some of the things we were talking about yesterday, I went and I looked at some specific counties. I looked at some specific outreach for Trump and for Harris, and I found some things that I think are interesting, good things for Trump that I didn't see yesterday. But there was something that was striking that I ran across that I didn't realize. the gender gap in the last few elections versus the gender gap now. Gender gap in the last few elections has been between 2 and 4 percentage points in most states. It's 10.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a lot different.
And it is 10 across almost every state. The only one where I haven't seen it be that large is Nevada. But Nevada has a lot of other. They've got like something like 10 to 15% of other that they didn't identify, which is really weird. So I don't know what that says inside of. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, again, I don't know what that says, but that's really strange. Again, I don't think that we can necessarily draw any conclusions, but we might be able to guess about some things. And a 10-point gender gap, something that is over twice what it has been in recent elections, going back like 15 years, 20 years, that means something. We don't know what it means.
Right.
We can guess, but that's going to mean something come tomorrow.
And here is one of the scenarios that could play out with that gender gap. Okay. Yes, women vote more than men do.
Yeah.
But not all women are Democrats. And in fact, one of the biggest indicators as to whether or not a woman is a Republican or a Democrat is whether or not they're married. It's just one of the bigger indicators. So you will have some married women, I happen to know one very personally, who are big Trump fans.
Yep.
Now, how many dudes, like compare that number with men that are going to the Democrat side, and whether or not they offset each other, is one bigger than the other? I don't know. But it's something to consider.
Yeah, it is. It is something to consider. That what would be that motivation for them to show up, and if they're infrequent voters, capturing their behavior is almost impossible. So you don't know what direction they're going to break.
Exactly right. Now, here's another thing that's interesting.
Yeah,
the generic congressional ballot was asked. So this, you have Kamala Harris versus Trump. This is CU Denver, CU Boulder. Sorry, interviewing 800 people. They asked Trump, and it was 55-41. Now, how many do you think are willing to support a Republican that weren't willing to support Donald Trump?
Oh, so split ticket. So people that don't. Okay, now I do believe that rather than Dems coming over to support the Republican, I believe there are more people that are Republicans not supporting Donald Trump, but will support the Senate.
Yes.
I would think you probably got a 5 to 7% increase.
It's close. You're exactly right. In the sense of the Harris Democrat general ticket didn't move at all. It's the same at 55%. But with a generic Republican on a congressional race, it moved 2 points from other to Republican.
Oh, there you go.
So there's 2 percentage points of Republicans out there.
Yeah.
That are going, I will split the ticket, not vote for Donald Trump. Now that matters.
Yeah, it does.
Dude, I'm sorry, I get a little frustrated about this, but if you're a Republican and you're willing to vote for Republican candidates, but you're going to keep Trump empty and not vote for Kamala Harris, yeah, it's better than voting for Kamala Harris, but it's nearly just as bad. But that's 2 percentage points that could go a long way in helping. So,
Yep. And if that's reflected in other states, that 2 percentage point can be in some areas the difference between win and loss, not necessarily statewide, but in certain pockets where you need to take certain districts. Yeah.
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Certain areas of Pennsylvania, that could be a huge difference.
Oh my gosh. That would drive me crazy if that happens tonight, which it might happen. Oh my goodness. All right. Amendment H. You ready for this one? This is the Colorado constitutional amendment to create an independent board to preside over ethical misconduct hearings involving judges.
Yeah,
and there's a lot there.
Yeah.
This one's going to win big.
I think so too.
70 to 10, 12%.
And I think that's, again, Dave Magoya doing lots of great work and other people out there just pulling the curtain back and showing the stuff that was going on.
There's a 350-page complaint that just dropped.
Exactly.
We talked about with Chris Murray last week.
Yeah.
So, that one's going to be a big one.
Oh, that's going to be great.
Now, this is an interesting one.
Yeah.
This is the one that got my eye peaked more than just about anything else. Amendment J, which proposes amending the Colorado Constitution to repeal its language. 54 to 37.
Really?
It's only in favor of taking out the definition of marriage as one man and one woman by 4 points.
That's interesting.
I mean,
that's really interesting.
70 points on creating the independent board to look
Yeah,
at
for
judges. 54.
That's
Maybe
interesting.
I'm not all alone wandering in the wilderness going, marriage.
Yeah. I'll have to see.
Marriage.
Marriage.
One man, one woman. All
What's this
right.
marriage?
Amendment K, which would do the attacks on your gun stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Let me make sure I'm reading this one right, because they asked this a few different ways. No. This is proposes amending the Colorado Constitution to make deadlines 1 week earlier.
Oh, yeah. You got to give the secretaries, the county clerks more time. That's what it is. Yeah.
Only 46% in favor. That one I don't think is going to pass. Because it's got to get to 55.
And it seems weird. The idea of them having more time for this and not more time for this, it's just confusing.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those that people don't understand what they're either voting for or against.
Yes.
And so
Not
they're
a
kind of
passionate
confused by
one.
it. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we'll do one more and then we'll move it on.
Okay.
Big one, Amendment 79 proposes amending Colorado Constitution to make abortion a constitutional right in Colorado and to repeal existing constitutional bans on state and local government funding for abortion services. So your tax dollars are going to pay for it. It needs 55% to pass, 58% right now.
Oh.
So it's right there.
Yeah, it's right there. And again, poll margin of error is normally about 50%. So it could be even at that point, which is one of those things that I was reminded yesterday when I was bringing in the Ann Salter poll, when we were talking about it afterwards, was going back and reminding myself, oh, yeah, it does show Harris up 3 points in Iowa right now, but her margin of error is 3.5 points.
Yeah.
So Harris conceivably could be down 0.5 percentage point, which would make sense inside of Iowa. So again, this also inside the margin of error, so it's much closer than it possibly
But here's
could
what
be.
sticks out to me, okay? Because look, you can have legislatively totally unrestricted abortion, which is what we have right now. This is going to make taxpayers pay for it.
Yep. And that's the argument. That is the strongest argument that people have against this.
24% of Republicans are supporting it.
Really?
24% of Republicans.
That is surprising.
I'm like, what? At what point, like, are you a Republican? Like, you're like, let's use tax dollars for abortion?
Now, for me, that's one of two things. Either the Republican Party doesn't understand the Colorado electorate and abortion, or the messaging on the anti-side has been so bad, they haven't been able to crystallize that fact inside the voter's mind. This could just be a messaging error. This could just be an idea that the message wasn't delivered to these people. And those people are like, okay, whatever. And they didn't get that message.
I know all about the internal messaging debates on this one.
So I don't know about
maybe
this
you
one.
and I can talk about it depending on how it goes.
Yeah,
but,
let's do. Yeah.
All
I'd
right.
be curious.
We got a special election day. You choose the news coming up. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
We are Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
All right, Billy, we got to give him a special Election Day edition of You Choose the News.
Yes, I might have been bending a little bit of the boundaries. Portions of common decency this morning, but let's see what happens. This is everybody's favorite fake radio news game show. You Choose the News. I spent mere moments this morning scouring the interwebs for really dumb stories about us humans. You should see the dumb stuff we do. Oh, my goodness. And then I gave them even more ridiculous headlines to play this fake radio news game show. Why? Because the people in charge are not up yet. Yes, this is what happens when you are left unsupervised, and it is a complete and total secret. Nobody in charge has any idea that we waste time doing this, so shh, it's our secret. All right. Blake Olson joining us from the newsroom, along with Jeff Hunt. Here are your choices this morning, sirs. Headline number 1, you're dead to Jesus. Headline number 2, made with human leakage. Headline number 3, we should blame the whores. And headline number 4, can you hear me now? Again, taking a little bit of liberty in this morning.
Oh, Bill. I'm
going to get you in
with
trouble.
Jesus. Yeah.
All righty. You are dead to Jesus. That's what the Russian Orthodox Church says. The patriarch of the Russian Orthodox Church recently said, Christ himself suffered undeserved execution, but he never actually condemned capital punishment, so we are all for the death penalty. Yes, Jesus thinks you should ride the lightning and die if you take someone's life. That's what they say in Russia. No, again, the head of the Russian Orthodox Church said, of course, killing a person is punishment for his crimes, an extreme measure. Therefore, it would be ideal for people not to commit such crimes in the first place. But in order to follow God's law, we must then have the death penalty. The Lord does not say, don't kill him, but say, kill the ones that are killing the other people. So again... for me, I like the Russian Orthodox Church for all the hats they wear and the things.
Did you say ride like?
Yes, ride the lightning. Yes, I did say ride the lightning.
Right
Yes, we're going to be completely, totally inappropriate this morning on this one. Yes.
out of the Green Mile there.
Exactly. Artie Blake, your choice, sir. Made with human leakage. We can blame the whores, or can you hear me now?
We can blame the whores.
Yes, we can blame the whores. This might be my favorite story this morning. Tucker Carlson recently says, who we get to blame for all the deadly Atlantic hurricanes? The whores. Carlson admitted.
Speaking of God.
Yeah, he said recently he doesn't believe in global warming causing an increase in the number of hurricanes at all. He said, well, we've had another hurricane. It must be global warming. No, he said, this is probably abortion. It's probably all the whores.
It's punishment.
He said, it's just honest. You can't do that. You can't kill the children on purpose, knowing that you're doing that in exchange for power, freedom, or happiness. Whatever you think you're getting in return, you can't participate in this human sacrifice. I'm wondering how he thinks abortions are done, but that's interesting in and of itself. But yes, he said, no, it's not actual weather. It's not the weather that's happening. It's the whores. It's their fault for the Atlantic
It's God,
hurricanes.
right? God's punishment?
Yeah,
Is that essentially what he's saying?
More
I
or
think
less,
that's
but
what he's saying.
that would be weird. And we should not get into that type of theological discussion right now because I have some severe questions about that. Severe questions about that and how I believe people that say that God is punishing us because of what we're doing on the earth right now may have lost the narrative in the book that we share. But that's for a whole nother day. We'll start fights. Yeah, that's a whole nother day. We'll start fights. Not today. That is not a fight for today. Alrighty, final choice this morning, Mr. Hunt. Made with human leakage, or can you hear me now?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Oh, the leakage one was fun. Can you hear me now? Scientists believe they have found a way to fight mosquitoes that are spreading things like deadly dengue fever. They just got to make sure the guys can't hear. They're genetically altering male mosquitoes so they cannot hear the mating buzz of the females. They ignore the females. They don't get to do the Humpty Hump. No baby skeeters. Yeah. So kind of nice. Yeah. So that's what they're doing. They're making them deaf in order to not, get.
Love those scientists.
Exactly.
Out there.
That's it. That's the end of You Choose the News.
We'll
Back to you, sir.
You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
It is 7 a.m. in the Mile High City on this very special Election Day coverage of the Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Whew, it's going to be a wild day. Not only do we have this show from 6 to 10 a.m. for you, coming up next after this is Charlie Kirk from 10 to 12, Dennis Prager 12 to 2, Sebastian Gorka 2 to 4, Larry Elder 4 to 6, and then 6 p.m. There's literally like a party kicking off here.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
Peter Boyles hosting myself, Bill Thorpe, Mike Rosen, John Caldera, Patricia Calhoun, Dan Kaplis, Brother Jeff, Ted Trimpa, and many others, providing all that election coverage for you. And then tomorrow morning, Jeff and Bill Show will provide all the analysis you need. We're going through the CU Boulder poll that came out yesterday, giving you some insight into some of these statewide ballot initiatives. We'll continue to cover that, but let's go back to news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. 29 and partly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 52 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
It could come, I know it's early because early is relative, but or covering his bases. We could be Friday, we could be Thursday before we know. Guys, I truly would not want to lay money down on this.
Hey, the legend Peter Boyles working out right now. He's getting pumped up and ready for a big night tonight. Right here on the Big 710, legends left and right joining him, all-stars like Pro Bowlers and heavy hitters and all those guys, big namers. Turn down the tube and listen to Pete all night long. Kaplis and Rosen, are you kidding me? It's election day and RTD is giving free rides today. No fares will be charged on all RTD buses and light rail trains. Colorado voters have until 7 o'clock to vote in person or submit their ballots at a drop-off location. So far, voters in El Paso and Jefferson counties have cast the most ballots. DJT on stage at a rally in Grand Rapids, Michigan until after 2 o'clock this morning. Grand Rapids was also Trump's final campaign stop in 2016 and 2020. Kamala Khan capped her final day of campaigning on the steps of the Philadelphia Museum of Art in front of a crowd of some 30,000 people who also turned out to see Lady Gaga. Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly both endorsing DJT, and Kelly crushed it. Republican Party is now the party of the working class, like the men in Pennsylvania at the rally yesterday.
Guys like these guys who've got the calluses on their hands, who work for a living with the beards and the tats, who maybe have a beer after work and don't want to be judged by people like Oprah and Beyonce, who will never have to face the consequences of her disastrous economic policies. These guys will. He gets it. President Trump gets it. He will not look at our boys like they're second-class citizens. And ladies out there who want a bit of girl power in this election, let me tell you something. How can you win when the sons and the husbands and the brothers and the dads you love are losing? It's not a win.
And then there's Joy Reid of Messy NBC doing what the left does, projecting, lying about Trump.
And we begin our final sprint, having arrived at that point in the election season where basically we on this side of the TV screen have said all we can. We've laid out the stakes in this crucial election, where one side stands for freedom while the other meets the textbook definition of fascism, namely a far-right dictatorial regime like Hitler's Germany or Franco's Spain or Mussolini's Italy. But
gosh, and these people wonder why someone shot at Donald Trump.
Right. I did a great job getting everybody all
you remember all those people we went to war against?
Yes.
Yeah, that's who's the head of the Republican Party right now.
There you go. And get ready. It's going to get worse.
I just hope, please, God, Let
Yes.
Donald Trump win so I can watch those liberal commentators cry. Oh, those are the best
man.
videos. And I got
Those
just
are.
one of those in my lifetime. It's 2016. Give me another one.
I know, out of
please.
16 years, only once.
Right.
We need more of those. We gotta have
Man,
that.
just for the health of our nation to put those people down a notch.
Man, they're in a whole different world, and they're saying the same thing about me and you and all of us. But
I don't know if we're pushing it to the level of Mussolini and Hitler.
I may be, but no, no, of course we're not. But they, that's how they view it. And I mean, you should have seen the graphics and the photos that she was showing. You just heard the video of that. I mean, they have the camera, panning down, rolling, moving with her. And I mean, a beautiful job. The graphics looked amazing. I mean, they had every dictator known to mankind up there. and all written for. She has no idea who half of those people are.
Like I sit and you look at the state of our country and you're like, how do we get to a place like that where you have like literally commentators on major mainstream news outlets pulling something like that and people going, you're right. Yep. And at a certain point,
lack of education,
regardless of what we as conservatives have got to get way more serious about what our government-run schools are doing to our kids.
Yeah, no doubt.
90% of our kids are educated in these systems. They're pushed through, where they're not competent in math, reading, history, but they become these little like leftist progressive activists.
Yep.
Like I when I look at our school system, I don't go, they're failing. They're actually achieving exactly what they want to do. Which is to train them to become little progressive leftists. And then we sit back and we're like, well, gosh, how does half the country, believe that Donald Trump is Hitler? Because we turned over our schools and 90% of our kids are educated in these systems. Like, no wonder.
Apathy.
So regardless of what happens tonight, tomorrow, this week on the election, until conservatives get very serious about taking on government-run schools, we're going to continue to sit here and just deal with this.
That's why Charlie Kirk is a hero.
Yeah.
Man, he has hit those campuses, and these are all, majority of them, unfortunately, I mean, young people, men and women who have not heard any of the values or issues that he brings up. And it's quite an education. So thank God for people like him. Prosecutors do not intend to file charges against an Aurora security guard for a deadly shooting in August. The 17th Judicial District Attorney's Office has determined that the security guard was acting in self-defense when he shot 36-year-old Vernon Dorsey. Investigators determined that Dorsey put a gun to the back of the security guard's head outside a convenience store on East Colfax. The guard reportedly fought with Dorsey before pulling his own weapon and shooting him in the chest. The DA's office says the guard was legally justified in using deadly force against Dorsey. The Chiefs' 30-24 overtime victory over the Buccaneers last night. College hoops return and CU over Eastern Washington. CSU beats North Dakota. UNC over CC, Colorado College, and Wyoming wins. Nuggets over the Raptors. 26 in North Glen, 27 in Centennial, 29 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue.
I will never quit. I will never bend. I will never break. I will never yield, not even in the face of death.
It's Election Day. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
There's going to be a lot of weather in Colorado in the coming days. Be prepared. Today, it'll be partly cloudy, chilly, gusty northwest winds, highs upper 40s and low 50s. A chance of snow showers tonight. Watch for slick roads, lows mid-20s. Chance of snow early Wednesday. Could see an inch or two, highs 30s. Flurries Wednesday night, a low near 20. Flurries Thursday, highs mid-30s. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free, no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're covering all things election. Let's go to the phone lines. Joe Arvada. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Jeff and Billy. Wanted to thank you. I called at 7:10 to really say thank you. You
Thanks,
give
man.
That is really
lonely conservatives, outnumbered like myself, a voice, and it's the only one. Really, you're the only real way. I write. You could write letters to the paper, and they'll just be, circular filed.
Yep.
You're right.
The point is that really we get an avenue here to talk, not just to a local audience, but also to a national ear, because there's a lot of people across America that are listening here because they know that the heart of America starts here.
Yeah. I mean, and Joe, it really is the listeners that make this show. It's not a monologue. It's not just Billy and I spouting out. It's the conversation that gets to take place. All right. So you've been very bullish on Trump. Tell me how it's going to go today.
Yeah. What do you think?
Well, absolutely. I think if we were in a non-rigged system, Donald Trump would win by 10 to 12 points. If you had just manual voting with paper ballots, Donald Trump would win this hands down. Not only the Electoral College, but also the national vote. Now, please tell me you are all paying attention to the systemic applications for ballots by multiple fraudsters. Come on. You see it. We all see it. Now, maybe it's not being broadcast on the national networks, but you don't have to look very far to see that even the secretaries of state know that there's systemic fraud going on.
I'm not sure I would go with the idea of systemic, but the stuff that I've seen so far has been caught by the system, which would tell us that the system is working. There's the stuff that came through.
That's hilarious.
No,
yeah. All the criminals we caught, we know that it's happening, and we got them all, didn't we?
No, it's not that. It's the idea that it's what we're seeing is it's happening in such small pockets. It's not going to be large enough in order to swing votes. We're not seeing people come in
that 2,600. That 2,600 applications for votes by frauds, was just small. It only canceled 2,600 of your votes.
Well, actually, it's not the full 2,600. The issue was it was two groups of voting that was brought in by a company that's a third party out of Arizona. And they did the work inside of Pennsylvania. And as the Pennsylvania election officials are supposed to do when those voter registration things arrive, especially they have a deal about if it arrives through a third party, they go through and they check it. And so they did line by line. They went through and they verified people where the address is real. And they also flagged ones in which the handwriting looks very similar to the one or two above it, where the handwriting for 3 or 4 registrations. And so those are the ones. They didn't just take those 2,500 and all the 2,500 didn't turn out to be illegal or fraudulent registrations. It turned out what it looks like that third party company had people that were getting paid to register people to vote, wrote down fake names and addresses, which we know happens on the regular, but it didn't change large sections of votes. They didn't fake register 2,500 people, and none of those people on that list were automatically registered. So they were all checked and vetted before they were entered into the voter rolls, and that would be the system working.
Yeah, right.
Well, what would your system be then? I mean, Joe, what would be your system?
Well, hey, let me just point out, too, the millions of registered illegals now are not going to slip through the system because all of those votes that go away immediately once they're cast into the system, because once that envelope is separated from that ballot, it never gets in, because our system is so perfect. It doesn't let any of those millions of illegals that are registered vote.
But you're But Joe, you're starting with the premise that millions of illegals are registered to vote, something you can't prove.
They are.
But but something you can't prove.
Oh, yes, they are. We already know this.
No, we don't. And that's the issue, is you're starting with
what
the premise
happened
that we can't prove.
Well, let me explain it to you.
Okay.
What happens when in states where driver's license issue registrations, they are immediately registered to vote and they're receiving ballots. But we know they don't do anything because it's posted. It's illegal to vote if you're an illegal.
But if you're
they won't, right?
But if you're registering,
wrong,
Joe, if you're registering for a driver's license, you have to prove citizenship. Or if you're in a state that allows people that are not citizens, that's a different driver's license. So they're not put into the voter registration.
You're weaving a story now.
No, that's the system. That's exactly how the system works. Because Joe,
right.
Yeah, I know, Joe. What you'd have to assume though is that someone shows up to a state that maybe they're not even allowed to register for a driver's license. Somehow they get a driver's license, and then they go ahead and then they vote. And the other part is that when we talk about the illegals voting, you're telling me the people that have snuck into this country, that are trying to live under the radar as far as all of our laws. They're trying to get paid outside the system. They're trying to avoid taxes outside the system. The one thing they're going to do to poke their head up is vote. They're going to put all of that.
Billy,
they're going to put all of that.
Is bliss.
No, they're going to put all of that at risk so they can choose the president. It just doesn't make any sense logically, Joe. It doesn't, and nobody's been able to show that we have millions of people.
There are already hundreds of them that have been caught, Billy.
But that would be the system working in those situations.
Yeah,
you need to show me.
It's like catching one salmon in a net of thousands and millions that got through. Really,
but
Billy?
You're assuming thousands have got through, and we haven't seen that. Nobody's been able to show that.
Come on, man. You're just stretching credulity
not
right
at all.
now.
No, I'm not. No, I'm looking for the proof. You're the one that has come to this conversation without proof.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Here, I'll say it again. Do you know who Dennis Montgomery is?
Yeah.
I've asked you, and now did you go to let's see, Fingerprints of Fraud, the movie? Did you watch it?
No, I don't need to, because he's full of crap, and that's fine. We've talked about it before.
You don't need to. I know. You read Snopes, and now you know.
No, I researched. Joe, I researched what his premise was, and I looked at what he was saying, and he's incorrect, and that's fine.
Oh, yeah, very good, Billy. Yeah, all those people that know what's going on, they don't know anything. They're just idiots that were former CIA agents,
by the way,
former FBI.
Hold on.
Dennis hasn't been able
to
prove anything, though.
Did you see the video yesterday? This was kind of, it was amusing and sad, of the guy who went into California and refused to provide his ID, right? And goes up, and the lady asks, well, what's the first 3 letters of your last name?
Yeah.
Okay. It's the first 3 letters of your first name. Can you confirm your date of birth? He gives them, and then he just goes, maybe.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, is it yes or no? And he's like, yes, that is my birthday. Maybe. Would you like to confirm it with an ID? And you see the situation we've put our elections into, where the left is so anathema to the idea of using an ID to verify somebody, that they were so confused by what this guy was saying. And it was just like, what is with the Democrats and their unwillingness to embrace utilizing ID to confirm who's voting? Like, why are they so opposed to it? Joe?
Oh, it's just like Elon Musk says. Anybody listen to maybe the smartest man on planet Earth explain the only reason that California's laws are the way they are is for systemic fraud. What do you not understand? That's the most intelligent person on planet Earth telling you it's systemic fraud. What do you not get?
Yeah.
Well, then it should be easy to prove, and no one's been able to prove it.
But why won't they? But why won't they do ID? Why won't Democrats require ID? Like, why are they at the point where they're actually banning localities
Again,
from doing ID.
I don't agree with them going and banning the IDs. The issue, though, is I don't understand why the GOP feels like the one thing that can't possibly be hacked, fabricated, or faked is an ID. That's the weird part about this. That the one thing that we
seems
can't
like
fake.
a weird argument because it can be faked.
No,
therefore it's like
I know, but here's the
because
issue.
someone can hack your passwords. We shouldn't have passwords.
No, this is the reason why we have systems in place that kick people that shouldn't be on the voter rolls out. We have systems in place when people register.
Goodness.
I know, Joe.
But
We have systems. Wait,
a whole bunch of lawsuits about
hang
this.
on a sec. Let me,
including here in Colorado.
Wait, but do I get to through this or not? Because we have a system in place, and we have the systems here with the driver's licenses as far as automatic registration that prevents people. And there are some mistakes that are made, but we haven't seen large registrations. And despite those systems, even though Republicans turn and say, no, those systems aren't good enough, we have to have this card. As if the card can't possibly be faked. That's the issue. We have people that have come into this country and have faked ID cards before. We have teenagers that have faked ID cards. The idea that the ID card is the one thing that we can't possibly
no one's
fake.
jumping there. We're just pointing out, wondering why Democrats are so passionate
here's the
to
issue.
make sure that we don't.
The issue is this. This is the reason. This is the reason why I don't fall into this trap often, is because the idea is, if we have IDs, then all our votes are going to be secured. BS. I throw the BS flag on that because what'll happen is people like Jill will call right afterwards and go, the illegals are just faking all the ID cards.
This is because
already they're faking everything else to get registered.
Why we should not build a wall, because it'll only stop 95% of the illegals from getting in. Hey, those 5% will use a ladder or dig a hole underneath there. Let's not build a wall because it only stops 95% of the fraud.
Yeah,
so,
Joe, and to what we're saying, it is revealing. It is revealing, and it should be to everybody, why Democrats are so passionately opposed to the idea of using voter ID. It is revealing. Joe, I really appreciate the call. You got to call us back tomorrow, and hopefully we can have a conversation about how the election results went. So let's go to Stephen here in just a second. But, 10 days from today, Colorado Christian University is putting on an exclusive luncheon and lecture on Friday, November 15th, featuring the 48th Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence, his wife, former Second Lady Karen Pence. This will be 10 days after election. Think about all the conversation that's going to be taking place. In partnership with the Centennial Institute and CCU President Eric Hogue, this event offers a unique opportunity to engage in conversation with Vice President Pence, one of America's most dedicated public servants, sharing his insights on the future of the conservative movement. Be among the first to experience the new Armstrong Center as CCU launches its President Speaker Series on this historic occasion. Go to ccu.edu/Pence to get tickets and learn more. Limited tickets are available for breakfast with Karen Pence, lunch with Mike Pence, and morning and evening lectures. Throughout the day, you'll engage in conversation on leadership, faith, and service with these distinguished guests. Please join CCU on November 15th for these events with Mike and Karen Pence. Go to ccu.edu/Pence to get tickets and learn more. That's ccu.edu/Pence. Let's go to Stephen in Denver. Good morning, Stephen. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Morning.
I was listening last week, and I am 73 now, so maybe I didn't hear right or something. I'm trying to clarify. I thought you were I thought you were calling Donald Trump a fascist.
That would be me, Bill Thorpe. And what I said was that Donald Trump ticks off a lot of the list of Umberto Eco's list of fascists. Now, what I also said was, I do not believe this is a path that Donald Trump has chosen. I do not believe that he has sat down and talked about how would I like to rule? How would I like to view? Fascism, obviously the best choice for me. I don't believe this is a conscious choice. I believe this is a choice based on his worldview and based on his business experience, because inside of his businesses, he is the absolute ruler. He has complete control. He tells his legal department to go out and get something done. He tells his marketing department to go out and get something done. All of the decision-making, all of the power rides with him. So it would make, in my mind, it would make perfect sense that he then would view our three branches of government as being ineffective, inefficient and unnecessary because they would get in the way if he had them set up in his business system. So that's what I say. I'm not saying that he's going out there and he is going to be a jackbooted thug or wear a brown shirt or anything like that. I don't believe that. And I believe the Democrats are wrong for making the allusions to Hitler. But I do believe that's how he functions. I do believe that's his decision-making process.
Okay, here's the contest I would like to propose. How about if he gets elected and inaugurated, that each day you say, well, day one, I did not see any fascist acts. And then we could kind of set up an over and under, like how many days, months, or years will it take Donald Trump to confirm the fascist tendencies that Hillary Clinton and the left and yourself say that Trump possesses?
I think it would be. I think it would be more fair for me to point out when they happen rather than no. And the reason being is because in news reporting and everything else, you don't send somebody out to the airport to say that all the planes landed safely. So if he didn't do something that day, it would seem to be not important enough to mention. But if he did do something, that may be fair. So I will try to do that. If he does cross the finish line and does this, yeah, I can take that up and let's take a look at it. I'm more than happy to take a look at that. And then at the end, take a look at the ledger and see what the ledger looks like.
Maybe,
and I could be totally wrong. Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to listen every day.
No, that's fine. But, and I also concede that I could be completely and totally wrong, that he could be in office and he could govern completely differently. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that could be true as well. Absolutely.
Stephen, appreciate the call.
Yeah,
thanks so much. Great to hear from you. We'll do one more and then we'll get to a break here. Let's go to Albert Aurora. Good morning, Albert. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Good morning, guys, and it's the big day today, and I really am loving the show. You guys got a good thing going on. You're really I feel like you're really kind of getting the idea of what's happening election-wise. You guys are, I really dig it. You guys are giving it your all and giving it your best, and that's good stuff.
No, I appreciate that. How do you think today is going to go, Albert?
Well, I mean, honestly, it's a nuanced issue, and so it is kind of difficult. I see it as being like a situation where I wish there was more information being put out there. I wish people were more well informed on the topics and stuff. And that's where you guys kind of come in. And yeah, it would be cool if you could give more of a totality of all of it and sort of explain things. I don't know if you guys necessarily have it in your locker though to do that, but you're doing a good job. You're doing a pretty decent job here at explaining it, and I commend you for that.
Oh, thanks, Albert. I appreciate it. If you go to our YouTube channel, you can get a whole lot of cuts of the conversations we have on the different ballot initiatives over the time. But Albert, great call. Give us a call back. Let us know what you thought of how the election went.
Yeah, afterwards, I'd love to hear postmortem from you.
There you go. Hey, Billy, tell us about Balanced Well Space.
Yeah, you're going through a lot of pain right now. You're like, oh, this is going to be a pain in my neck tonight with this election coverage. And are we going to know anything? Yeah, but I can't help with that. But I have found a team that can take away your daily pain, those aches and pains that are driving you crazy. Yeah, I thought just getting older meant that's how you live your life. That's what the older people in my life, I was growing up, I saw them sitting around complaining about the bursitis and whether or not their spleen truss was actually holding up, stuff like that. But you don't have to live your life in pain. You don't have to let that daily pain stop you from doing the things you used to do. It doesn't have to constrain your lifestyle. You can get back to doing the stuff you want to do here in Colorado, especially the winter stuff. Getting up in the mountains, doing the skiing, the snowboarding, snowshoeing, everything like that, spending some of your Christmas time in the mountains with family. But you got to talk to my friends at Balanced Well Space first. Here's why. At Balanced Well Space, it's a different approach to your pain. It's integrative medicine. I had no idea what that meant until I sat down with Dr. Julie, Dr. Jess, and the entire team. It means that you can get regenerative care, trigger point injections, wave therapy, physical rehabilitation, neuropathic care, chiropractic care, and more all under one roof. They have some cutting edge, like Star Trek level stuff. It's all non-invasive that has to be seen and experienced to believe. But the bottom line is, without cutting you up, without stitching you back together, they can make you feel better. They've done it for me, and I know they can do it for you. We've been regenerating one of the discs in my lower back because I have two vertebrae that are fusing together. not happening anymore. Those vertebrae are apart, and I'm feeling better than ever. That sciatica that was running down my leg almost on a daily basis, gone. My left knee right now, I'm regenerating the meniscus in my left knee. My left knee is now my strong knee. This is crazy. If you would have told me a year ago I would be feeling this good, I would be feeling 10 years or more younger, I would be running around in the backyard with the dog and playing with the kids the way I am, I would not have believed you. I would have thought, hey, you got to put that drink down. We got to talk about your problem here. But no, Balance Wealth Space has changed my life, and I know they can change yours. You got to talk to them first. BalanceWellSpace.com, BalanceWellSpace.com. Brand new offices in Lowry, right across from Hangar 2, and plenty of parking. They'll evaluate your pain. They'll put together a custom pain plan for you, and then they go to work. And the best part about it, every couple of weeks, they reevaluate your care. Your current medical team isn't talking to each other. Those doctors in all the different offices, they never get on a conference call or a Zoom and discuss you. They don't even ask you how you're feeling as a whole. No, they don't. But that's what happens at Balance Wealth Space. They'll reevaluate you, and they'll change things to make sure you get back to doing what you want as soon as possible. But you got to make the first step choice first. So call them, balancewellspace.com, balancewellspace.com. And when you reach out to them, tell them you heard about it here on the Jeff and Bill Show, because it helps us out a lot. And I appreciate it.
That's great to hear, Bill. We'll continue with all your calls and texts on this very special election edition of the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Keurig K Supreme Plus Smart Serve coffee maker valued at $200. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're covering everything elections on this special election day. By the way, you got to get out and vote. You can't drop the ballot into your mailbox. It's too late for that.
Yeah.
It's got to go into the ballot drop box, or you got to vote in person. That's what you got till 7 p.m. today. And then we're done.
And they'll give you a sticker.
And it's a little weird one.
Yeah. Although, I hope that if Adam's paying attention over in the video room, we are going to share with our viewers that are sharing us with the YouTube and Rumbles and the Twitters a very special sticker that comes all the way from Minnesota. They have done it unique. It's a werewolf. It's a werewolf ripping off his clothes.
No way. Is that the actual I voted?
Again, it's designed by kids, but it's a kid that did a werewolf. And again, but it fits Blake's thing because he has the American flag. It's red, white, and blue. But then there's a werewolf.
And it seems like he's ripping off the blue, which is good.
I know.
You know,
exactly.
Rip off the blue.
Isn't that
Colorado?
Cool? See? Yeah. Adam went and found that for us. He was like, you want to see a sticker? And now, again, if I got that sticker, I'd save that sticker. That's a sticker I'd save. That's an awesome sticker.
That is absolutely something Billy at the age of all of the purchasing of throwing stars that we were talking about yesterday would have
right in my
drawn.
wheelhouse. Yes, I would have wanted that t-shirt.
That's fun.
That would have been like the first tattoo I would have wanted as a 6th grader.
On his notebook.
Exactly.
All right, let's go to the phone lines. Jack, Wyoming. Good morning. Jack, are you actually up in Wyoming?
No, I'm on my way back up there. I was down to Evergreen for one day. I get down there for Mondays usually.
And where do you vote? Do you vote in Wyoming or Colorado?
Well, I mean, in the case of Cheney, I mean, I own property in both places. So when Cheney was running, I voted against her in Wyoming, and now I've got my driver's license switched over to Colorado because I have homes in both places, so I can pick and choose.
Well, we added one more conservative. It sounds like here in Colorado.
Well, I've had a home in Colorado for 45 years. It's nothing new there, but I can vote either place. I just have to re-register on a national. As far as local elections are concerned, I can vote in either place because I'm a land. I don't have to change registration. Okay.
Interesting. Well, what do you think of tonight?
What I'm thinking about is I always have a problem with Thorpe. I mean, he's always a problem.
Always.
But when he sits there and wants to equate Trump as being a fascist because he owns a business and he's the decision maker in his business. Well, I own 3 businesses, trucking companies, construction companies. I also have a huge investment portfolio, and I also opened a bunch of all the decisions on all those various different things dealing with a considerable amount of money. So I guess in your mind, Billy Thorpe, I'm a fascist. Tell me what a fascist is, because you don't obviously know. A fascist is a government that tells you that you're going to be penalized if you don't sign up for Obamacare. A fascist is a government that tells a car automaker that he has to make 30% of his production in electric cars. That's what fascism is. Wake up, idiot.
Idiots, really? We had to go that far, Jack? Here's the thing, Jack. You're going to hang up, aren't you? Yeah, that's it. See, that's the thing with Jack is I appreciate him, but he yells, calls names, then hangs up. He doesn't want to exchange any ideas. And in my mind, it's because he's afraid. He doesn't have the stones to sit there and take the conversation at all. He just wants to come in, yell at me for a little bit, and go away.
What about his arguments though? That that's what business people have to. Those are the decisions business people have to make all day. And are we going to say anybody that's in business that runs in politics is now all of a sudden acting like a fascist?
No, but again, that's not what I said, and that's part of the problem here. Is Jack starts with only half of my statement. What I did outline is that Trump clicks off most of the indications from Umberto Eco's list of what fascist is. And I believe that he does that because of his approach to business, not that he's a businessman and all businessmen are fascists. What I said is his worldview and how he operates his business shapes how he chooses these things. He hasn't chosen to be a fascist, but based on how he's running, based on the political campaign and based on things that he said, yes, he does click a majority of them. Now we can say, well, even though he does that, we don't think he's going to govern as fascist. That's fair. But what's not immutable, what's not in dispute here is the fact that he clicks the notches. That's fine. And here's the other part though, that I was very, very, very clear on last week, that if you think that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and all the Democrats are dragging us towards a communist Marxist society, the very best check on that is fascism. that brings you back to the right as quickly as possible. So if in your heart of hearts, you really believe the Democrats are dragging us towards communism, the most intelligent thing you should do is support the fascist, because that is the quickest thing that'll counteract. There are some bad things on the other end they may not like, but that would be the quickest thing to counteract the communism. I'm not sitting here and throwing rocks at people and saying, oh, look, you're voting for a fascist. Make whatever choice you want. Don't care. Vote for Big Bird. Just understand what you're doing. And if you're doing it because you think we're going communist and we need to control that, fascism makes a hell of a lot of sense. A hell of a lot of sense. But what's not in dispute is the 14 things that Alberto Eco goes through, and Trump clicks 12 of them. That's fine. That's it.
Which are the ones he does? I'm looking at them now. The cult of tradition?
Yeah, cult of tradition, absolutely. Make America great again. That's the easiest one, MAGA.
Rejection
of modernism is easy because you have anti-intellectualism. We have to reject what's going on in the schools. We have to reject what's going on with those people in the ivory towers and their universities. Those are the people that are making the bad decisions. And that's what we have. That's the idea. You have the cult of action for action's sake. That's January 6th. That's easy. That's very easy.
The cult of action for action's sake.
Yeah. And that's January 6th. There was absolutely no proof of anything going on, but we had to do something in order to save something that didn't exist. Yeah.
Well, isn't that the entire Black Lives Matter movement?
Not necessarily, because I think we could push the fact that, yes, that individuals that have darker melanin in their skin are mistreated in certain cases when they interact with the police. That what happens to them.
That was not a movement of certain cases. That was a movement of systemic racism in policing to the point of defunding the police.
But that's not necessarily action for action's sake. They're looking for something that was there, and there was stuff that was there. But again,
the whole thing is action for action's sake.
Even then, where do they click anything else off this? Just because even if they do action for action's sake, that doesn't make them fascist, because they don't fulfill the rest of the requirements. So that's it. Even if you say that was the same thing, fine. But it doesn't make the movement fascist.
Treason?
Yeah, absolutely. The rhinos.
You think that happens more on the right than the left?
Hang on. Wait, this is not a balance of right versus left. Your question was whether or not he clicks the
and my question is it just him that clicks a lot of these? Because I can think a lot of the left who click a lot of these too.
We could go through that, but here, disagreement is treason? Absolutely. Fear of difference? Yes. Those migrants are poisoning the blood. They're changing our society. They're vermin. Yeah, absolutely.
Christian nationalists are destroying this country.
Yeah, appeal to social frustration. Yes, it's the immigrants the problem that's keeping you down.
Hold on. You're jumping ahead.
Yeah.
Appeal to frustrated middle class.
Yeah.
Isn't Kamala Harris's entire economic plan about taxing the rich to help this middle class?
Not necessarily, because some of the stuff that she's doing isn't necessarily taxing the rich to help the middle class. But the issue, what is it for Donald Trump? It's that America's garbage right now. You've been held back, and I'm going to give you all these great things. It's the idea that everybody else is responsible, not you. And
I guess what I'm pointing out is, man, I could take these and apply them to the other side.
Possibly,
really easily. Obsession with a plot.
Yeah, that's the deep state. Stolen election.
Yeah, and on the other side, you could say that, it's a bunch of neo-Nazis that want to take over this country, a bunch of fascists that want to take over this country.
I disagree, because
that's all of Kamala Harris's.
No, it isn't. No
argument.
No, it's not. No, that's not all of our argument.
Dude,
no,
that was Barack Obama's closing argument, was that Donald Trump is, saying find people on both sides. He's a racist. They're obsessed with a plot.
No, that's not a plot. That's the person. That's not the same thing. No, it's not. That's not the same thing. No. And the enemy is both strong and weak.
And apply each one. And I've never even read this before. I could apply each one of these to the left. That's what's so crazy about it. It's like they run out there and are like,
I disagree.
This applies to Donald Trump. He's a fascist. I'm sitting here going through each one of these going, how about life is permanent warfare?
Yeah.
Who's running all the wars? Oh my goodness. Ukraine. I mean,
Ukraine.
All
that's Russia. That's Russia and Ukraine.
Run these countries into these wars.
The U.S. didn't rush.
Holy cow.
The U.S. didn't push neither Israel nor Ukraine into a war. Ukraine was invaded, and not by the U.S. And Israel was attacked. And Israel, the Russians who invaded them.
Oh my goodness. Contempt for the weak.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can think of one party that likes abortion a lot, makes it central to their entire worldview. I mean, I just read these, Bill. All I'm pointing out is like the left wants to say these all apply to Donald Trump, and I'm sitting here going, you could easily make arguments that these apply to the left as well.
Well, I disagree, but the other thing is that you're applying it as a blanket to the entire left, where my argument has been and still remains the singular person.
Yeah, but he's the head of the party, so you're putting it to a lot more than just him.
No, I have defined it as the singular person. I'm saying he is. I'm saying we don't know if he's going to govern that way.
You
but
also
I'm saying
said the cult of
is.
tradition, MAGA, all that stuff.
Yeah,
you're
that's
not
him.
just applying it to him.
No,
you're applying it to the entire organization.
No, that's MAGA. That's him. He talks about MAGA. No, that's MAGA.
I'm wearing a MAGA hat.
I know, but his appeal of MAGA is the cult of tradition. That's him. This is all about him.
We are so over time.
I know we are, but this is all about him. Yes, and he
all
takes,
right, that
he
was
takes
fun.
12 of the 14. Yes.
We'll get to this call. Yeah, and so does the radical left. I think the radical left tag hits all 14 of those. All right. I'll get to the read later. We're up against a break. Rick Santorum, 8 o'clock hour. You're listening to a Jeff and Bill show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to Jeff and Bill show. That was a fun debate. I'm reading. I've never heard of this guy, Umberto Eco, but I'm reading through it, and it just seems like a rejection of tradition.
But the issue is that his 14 principles we hold. You can disagree with him based
hold?
on him.
Yeah. No, I don't think they hold at all. I think he's just a rejection of tradition. He's like this wild embrace of whatever's new and progressive is not fascist, and anything that's traditional is fascist. Go look at number 12 there. Machismo, which is the fascist hold to both disdain for women, intolerance, and condemnation of non-standard sexual habits, from chastity to homosexuality. It's like it's the church. And then why wouldn't you just put in femistimo? Like, why couldn't you just flip those? Both disdain for men and intolerance and condemnation for standard sexual habits.
Because fascism is a right-leaning ideology where communism is a left-leaning ideology. So that would be the difference in the two of them. And that's just fundamentally how they work.
This just seems incredibly weak. You could just flip it on the other side, and it becomes just as much fascist on the other side.
Where's the machismo and weaponry on the left?
You could do the feminismo.
I know,
the
but
idea
that's
that
not the same
all
thing,
dudes
though.
are bad.
But that's not the same thing. And
because I just flip the terms?
Yeah. And also because the left doesn't think that all dudes are bad. Because last time who did they elect as president? Who do they run? Biden?
I think they blame literally all of the problems in society on dudes.
Again, you said you believe that, but we can't. There's nothing that shows that. There's nothing where they come out and say, if we just get rid of all these guys, everything would be great in America. There's nothing saying that. But what we do have,
I think that's literally their entire presidential election.
But what we do have in the last 48 hours are people saying that if my wife doesn't vote the same way I do, it's cheating on me. That's the machismo. There you go.
And then the feminismo would be lie to your husband and she'd vote differently. See, the
feminismo wouldn't be. The feminismo would just be. That's the one. That's not, no, the feminismo would be that my husband has to vote the way that I do. That's the same thing.
That's literally all of white dudes for Harris.
No. Have you heard any of the white dudes for Harris say that my wife or my significant other has to vote the same way I do? No, but you have heard that out of the conservatives. That's where the machismo sits.
I haven't heard that out of conservation. I've heard the lie to your husbands out of it.
Jesse Waters said that if my wife didn't vote for Donald Trump, I would view it as an affair. Those things have been said last 4.
But that's
yes, weird. I agree. But
that's
weird.
Not common within the conservative movement.
It's weird.
You've got one guy. I could label you. I could give you the entire white dudes for Harris movement that is feminismo.
But that's again not the same. And the other problem is. I know you laugh, but the issue is until the people you give
is so weak. This is a house. I don't know who this Umberto Eco guy is.
I know you don't. He is a respected philosopher, and you can reject him all you want.
Dude,
but he's
I have
right.
a degree in philosophy. You can tear this apart so easily.
No, you can't. He's right.
This guy is so wrong.
Things hold. They hold.
And you could easily flip them and go the other side, and they'd be just as applicable to the left. That's why it's so weak in my mind.
Again, I didn't say that conservatives of the Republican Party is fascist. I point out a person, and the way that you are deflecting is having to broaden it to a whole bunch of other people.
You've made this is your basis for why Donald Trump is a fascist, and I'm going. This same basis could be made for the entire progressive movement to be labeled as fascist as well.
Again, I'm going with a person, and you have to make it into an entire movement. That's the only way it works. That's the only way it works for you, and that's why it doesn't work.
Oh my gosh!
That's why you're wrong.
We'll continue. Rick Santorum's up next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
It is 8 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Tuesday, November 5th. Good election day morning to you. You tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, getting into it today and battling to the very end about the issues that really affect this country. So thank you to everybody that texted in. We're going to continue this conversation a little bit later in the hour. Rick Santorum is going to join us. We're talking about Pennsylvania. He's won elections in Pennsylvania. He's lost elections in Pennsylvania. What's his read on his home state? And George Brauchler will be joining us in the 9 o'clock hour as we wrap up this special election day broadcast. But it doesn't stop with us, my friends. Charlie Kirk following us 10 to 12. Dennis Prager 12 to 2. Ashton Gorka 2 to 4. And then Larry Elder 4 to 6. And then it kicks off right back here with Peter Boyles leading live analysis along with myself, Bill Thorpe. And then listen to this lineup: Mike Rosen, John Caldera, Patricia Calhoun, Dan Kaplis, Brother Jeff, Ted Trimpa, and many others. He's actually having the whole thing catered as a result of Mike Boyle. They're going to be in here till who knows how late. And then Billy and I will be back tomorrow morning. We can debate the results then. Let's get to news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. 33 and partly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 52 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
Really, we get an avenue here to talk, not just to a local audience, but also to a national ear. Because there's a lot of people across America that are listening here because they know that the heart of America starts here.
That's exactly right. Love our listeners, great voters like Joe. He'll be listening tonight on election night 2024, and I agree with him. Keep an eye on possible cheating. No water main breaks tonight. All eyes open.
Come on. You see it. We all see it. Now, maybe it's not being broadcast on the national network, but you don't have to look very far to see that even the secretaries of state know that there's systemic fraud going on.
Boy, you got that right, Jenna Griswold. The legend Peter Boyles getting pumped up for a big night tonight right here on 710. Legends left and right joining him, from Tom Tancredo, the OG who fought open borders 40 years ago. The great Dan Kaplis and Mike Rosen. Don't even think about repeating yourself. Heavy hitters. Turn down the tube and listen to Pete all night long.
It could come, I know it's early because early's relative, but or covering his bases. We could be Friday, we could be Thursday before we know. Guys, I would not want to lay money down on this.
Neither would I. No fares will be charged on all RTD buses and light rail trains. Colorado voters have until 7 o'clock to vote in person or submit their ballots at a drop-off location. Men, young men of all ages, get out and vote. DJT working hard until after 2 this morning. Big endorsement.
The biggest there is, I guess, in that world by far. Somebody said the biggest beyond anybody in a long time. And his name is Joe Rogan, and he's never done this before. And it just came over the wires that Joe Rogan just endorsed me. Is that right? Thank you, Joe.
Megyn Kelly endorses Trump also and rips the mainstream media. Why wasn't Kamala Khan's hubby, Doug Emhoff? Why wasn't he vetted? Just one of the ways the left cheats.
Where was that story in the news? Where was that story? I don't remember a single media person, not one, who sat with him, asked him about the abuse allegations against him by a successful professional attorney who has great details, who has receipts, who has witnesses. No one even asked about it.
Yeah, that's weird.
I'm not into their version of toxic masculinity or new masculinity. I prefer the old version. Them, all of you, and I prefer a president who understands how to be strong and how to fight. I hope all of you do what I did last week. Vote Trump and get 10 friends to vote Trump too.
Let's go. The Department of Justice will be monitoring voting in 86 jurisdictions in 27 states today. The department says it plans to monitor compliance with federal civil rights laws. South Dakota's Secretary of State told the DOJ they can be poll observers, but not be poll watchers like representatives of candidates, measures, or political parties. In sports, the Chiefs' 30-24 overtime victory over the Buccaneers last night. College hoops return, and CU over Eastern Washington. CSU beat North Dakota. UNC over Colorado College, and Wyoming wins. And the Nuggets over the Raptors in the NBA. 28 in Boulder, 30 in Highlands Ranch, 33 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue.
You want to be a rebel? You want to be a hippie? You want to stick it to the man? Show up on your college campus and try calling yourself a conservative.
America's going to reach.
Boy, that is the truth. Do that. That's how you're a rebel, a conservative. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
There's going to be a lot of weather in Colorado in the coming days. Be prepared. Today, it'll be partly cloudy, chilly, gusty northwest winds, highs upper 40s and low 50s. A chance of snow showers tonight. Watch for slick roads, lows mid-20s. Chance of snow early Wednesday. Could see an inch or two, highs 30s. Flurries Wednesday night, a low near 20. Flurries Thursday, highs mid-30s. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free, no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Bill Show. We've got nearly totally full phone lines. If you want to get in, sneak in now. 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us if you can't on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115. It is blowing up. People texting all over the place on this. Billy, you're being disrespectful. Jeff, you're being disrespectful. So, there we go.
Didn't think we were going to do a political ideology debate today. That was a surprise. That was fun. That was unexpected.
All right, let's go to Francis Golden. Good morning, Francis. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Hey, morning.
Hey, guys. Happy Election Day. Hey, I think that what I'm seeing or hearing on some of these calls and things is that there's a fear. It's kind of a tribal fear of potential loss that's bubbling up to the surface.
Oh, yeah.
And I really hope that a lot of the, ideologic bent of the station, that the people who listen realize that you shouldn't count your chickens before they're hatched. I mean, I think that there's a little of that going on. I also think that, people have to realize the sun will come out tomorrow one way or the other. I am concerned. I mean, I root for a Trump win, but it's as much for selfish reasons as anything else. I just don't feel like going through 2 more years of having people talk about conspiracy theories and try to explain their reality through things that are just ridiculous. And I don't feel like listening or hearing that. And so, and plus I just don't think Harris has the intellectual capacity to hold the office. I just don't. But I don't know. I think everybody should kind of cool their jets a little bit, because this is going to be a squeaker. This is no way going to be a landslide one way or the other. And so everybody's going to wake up tomorrow and half the country's going to be pissed. And that's the name of that tune.
I mean, Francis, there's a lot of wisdom in that, because even if this poll holds that we're looking at from University of Colorado Boulder, that would have Colorado in the same category it was in 2020, essentially 55-41 change, that's only an 8-point difference. Like if 8 points from Kamala switched over and handed Trump 8 points, Colorado would be a red state. That's the actual number with regards to the difference in our voters who, we're a blue state when it comes to elections and we're handing it to Democrats, but it's not like everybody in the state of Colorado is a progressive Democrat. And so, how we move forward from all this matters a lot. And I've gone through good nights. I've gone through really bad nights on campaigns. And to your point, Francis, the sun rises the next day. I told Heidi Ganahl after the last campaign, I said, go to Mexico, drink some margaritas, and remember why you do what you do. And she did, and she came back, and she's got Rocky Mountain Voice going now. You'll get back into the fight, no matter which side you're on.
Yeah. I think that people are putting too much personal investment in these things, and I guess I'm trying to find a rainbow here a little bit, one way or the other, and I do have one. I won't have to look at any more glossy mailers from Brittany Pedersen and Ian Silvery anymore. That's a huge positive.
Yeah, that is.
I mean, God,
he is something to look at. I tell you that much. And all the text messages and all that. But look, Francis, but this is part of the benefit of living in a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, right? We could all have a king, Caesar, queen, whatever, and just go about our business. And we don't have a say in it. We have a say, and people are invested in the direction of this country. And we have two very different visions of what makes America a good country, a great country, and the direction we want to see this country go. And because of both the difference of those visions and because of the fact that we get to participate, you're going to have passions stirred up.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know, man. I just couldn't. I'll tell you guys, I mean, I didn't vote for either for president because I didn't want a black mark on my soul voting for Trump. And I kept looking at things like, is there a candidate here who didn't have sex with Willie Brown and or Stormy Daniels? And, is there a candidate here who didn't give a kind of a passing wink, wink, nudge, nudge to riots on either side? And, I don't know. It was just, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I voted all the rest of the offices and down ticket, but no way. The world has to do better by me before they get my vote. I respect myself more than that. I just do.
Yeah, I understand the sentiment, Francis, but I think, look, my complaint is we have gotten to this position because we took God out of the public square. And so now we have more of a godless, secular public square, and you're going to have godless, secular people that lead this public square. So if we want to get back to it, we got to bring religion in, but we're not going to get back to that overnight. Look, Mike Pence was like the perfect example of that. And there's no Democrat that is going to vote for Mike Pence. And most of the Republicans want to support Mike Pence. So you're not going to get back to that overnight. I think you've got to fight your way back towards that. And Donald Trump provides the best pathway back towards the America I would like to live in, where religion is at the center of a lot of the conversations that we have, because it results in healthy families and limited government. It's like what James Madison said, this Constitution's only for moral and religious people, and it's wholly inadequate to any other. So, someday
I wouldn't have done that if I was
but
if I was in Pennsylvania, I wouldn't have not voted for president. Sure. But Colorado, it doesn't matter. I have that luxury, so I'm going to take it.
There you go. Well, you're part of that. To my calculations, probably about 2% of Republicans are going to do that, according to this poll from University of Colorado. But Francis, call us back later this week. Let us know what you think of the results.
Yeah, for sure.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much. Let's go to Tony Littleton. Good morning, Tony. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Hey, good morning. I was listening earlier to the discussion about Pennsylvania, and it's all been about Pennsylvania, the idea of thinking that the winner is going to win that state. And the problem with Pennsylvania, of course, is we probably won't see their vote until Friday, maybe even Saturday. I think it went all the way to Saturday last time, because the process that they don't even open their ballots and so forth until today. So it takes them a while.
Yeah,
now,
and Tony, I do want you to stick around because I want to get your feedback on this. Joining us now, I put as the title, most amazing presidential candidate ever. Loved working for this guy. Would have loved to have him elected as president of the United States, and he was so close to it. Rick Santorum joins the Jeff and Bill Show. Good morning, Senator Santorum.
Morning.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you this morning?
We are off and running. We got full phone lines. Everybody's talking about it, and it all seems to come down to Pennsylvania. You have more experience in Pennsylvania than anybody else I know. It's a real honor to have you joining the show. Give us your read on Pennsylvania, sir.
Yeah, my read is that the Democrats did not do a particularly good job in early voting. If you look at, I think there was going to be a drop-off clearly from 2020. But if you look at a couple of things, first off, the margins, the Democrats, had a 1 million vote margin in 2020 on the early vote. The projection is it's going to be more like 450,000 in the early vote this time. Now, again, more people voted in 2020 early, but not that much more. And so you have to also look at where their numbers are off. I use the example of the city of Philadelphia, which is 1.5 million people. It is Donald Trump got, I think, 16% in Philadelphia in 2016 and 18% in 2020. So he did a little better, but it's a 5-to-1 more than it's a 5-to-1 county for and city for Democrats. And if you look at how many votes were turned in early, it was 160,000 votes. And compare that, just to give a comparison, there's a suburban county, a Democratic county. It's about a 2-to-1 Democratic county. It's about half the size, a little bit more than half the size, but roughly half the size of the city of Philadelphia. And they turned in 140,000 absentee ballots. So a county that's 2-to-1 Democrat, as opposed to 5-to-1 in Philly, that's half the size of Philly, almost had as many early votes as the city of Philadelphia. That tells me something's wrong. That the Democratic machine in Philadelphia dramatically underperformed, and if that continues, then they're going to have a hard time winning this election.
Talking with Senator Rick Santorum, a former U.S. Senator from Pennsylvania, presidential candidate, getting his read on Pennsylvania right now. Senator, I knocked doors for you in 2006, was all with Randy Brandt. We were all around Beaver County going and knocking doors. Explain to folks kind of the uniqueness of Pennsylvania. You're on a show in Colorado. They probably don't know the ins and outs of Pittsburgh and Pennsylvania and everything else in between. You give folks a little bit of an overview of the state.
Yeah, Pennsylvania's changed quite a bit since those days when you were knocking on doors. I mean, you were knocking on doors. You mentioned Beaver County, which is along the Ohio River, west of Pittsburgh. That was a Democratic county when you were knocking on doors 20 years ago. It's now a Republican county. And what's happened is, and it started with Barack Obama, that the blue collar, primarily white, but not exclusively white, the blue collar white areas. Remember, Pennsylvania has about 12% African American population, about half that amount, maybe a little bit more than half that amount Hispanic. So it's an overwhelmingly white electorate, and it's an overwhelmingly blue collar state. And Barack Obama and his rhetoric, he made that comment about people clinging to their guns and Bibles in blue collar Pennsylvania, Western Pennsylvania, and the way the Democratic Party has completely moved away from their blue collar roots, and the divisive rhetoric on race and gender and all this sort of stuff has really transformed the electorate in Pennsylvania. In areas, there's a county that's right north of West Virginia that's called Fayette County, Uniontown, Pennsylvania. That was a county that when I ran several times in the 90s and the early 2000s, I never got more than a third of the vote. It's going to go 2-to-1 Republican this time. And that all throughout Western and Northeastern Pennsylvania, areas that were coal region, energy regions, blue collar, heavily labor, all of those areas have transformed into now increasingly solid Republican areas. On the converse, but not as dramatically, the suburban counties, suburban Philadelphia, I mentioned Montgomery County, but suburban There are 4 suburban Philadelphia counties. There's suburban Allegheny County, which is a big county, 1.2 million people in the state. Those areas have moved more Democratic because the Democrats, have appealed to the white college educated and folks who are more culturally and socially liberal. And so there has been that transfer. The net is, not surprisingly, there's a lot more blue collar people who don't have college degrees than people who do have college degrees. And as a result, the registration when I last ran in 2006 was 1.2 million more Democrats registered than Republicans. Today, it's less than 300,000. And it went from 2020 to now it's from like 700,000 to under 300. So it was cut in half since the Biden race. So it's a very different state, and Democrats are increasingly relying on. There's 67 counties in the state, and Democrats will win 6, 7, and have very little chance. And if they win, like Biden did, they'll win 8 or 9. But if they lose, they'll go back to the 6 or 7 that are sort of their core constituencies. And that's why I come back to Philadelphia, which is the biggest of the 6 or 7 or 8 that they have to win, and look at relatively low numbers and say that's a big cause for concern.
Talking with Rick Santorum, former U.S. Senator, former presidential candidate, about Pennsylvania. We've got a text message here from Eric. He wants to know about Buck County. Can you talk a little bit about Buck County?
Bucks. It's like multiple, not just a buck, but multiple bucks. It's Bucks County. It's where Washington crossed the Delaware, north of Philadelphia. It's a suburban county. The lower end of the county is very blue collar, Democrat, but again, trending a little bit more Republican. The central part of the county is the sweet spot for the Democrats. It's college educated. It's around Doylestown, which is where the county seat, right in the middle. It's called Middle Bucks. That's the heavily Democratic area, very liberal area. And then you have Northern Bucks, which is a little bit more rural. And again, back to sort of leaning Republican. That is a county that 4 years ago was registered Democrat. It's one of the few counties in the suburban areas that has trended back. And the reason is the lower Bucks. It's the blue collar white voter down there in lower Bucks, Levittown, Bristol, the Bristol Hop from American Bandstand. That's the area that has become a little bit more Republican, and as a result, it's considered pretty much a toss-up county, whereas Biden won it relatively easily last time around.
Well, Senator Santorum, this is very helpful. We're going to be looking at Pennsylvania. The entire eyes of the nation are on Pennsylvania. I'm going to ask a very personal question because it's a personal question to me too. Could we see Bob Casey end his political career tonight? Do Pennsylvanians split vote? Could they support Trump and support Bob Casey?
I think that I talked to the McCormick people, and what they say is, Dave has run a race that basically he ran with Trump. He didn't separate himself at all with Trump. Went to all the rallies. They were very, very close, and even though they're very different people, and they really ran together. And if you look at the numbers, this is some of the predictions that I'm seeing from people that I have a lot of faith in. They're suggesting that there may be more Republicans who actually vote in this election than Democrats in Pennsylvania, which would be the first time in modern political history. That actually speaks well for Trump to win, obviously, but it also helps McCormick. McCormick is running behind Trump. The feeling is that Trump has to win by a little more than 2 points. Now, is that possible? Yeah, I mean, it's possible. He won by 1 point. A little over 1 point the time he won it, 8 years ago, and it's very possible to him to win by, let's say, 150, 200,000 votes. And if he does, then there's probably room for Dave to edge out Casey by 10,000 votes. That's sort of the deal. So look and see. And I know people are saying you won't know Pennsylvania until Friday. That's just not true. I mean, the reality is that Pennsylvania, they passed a law in 2022 that said once counties have to start counting, just to understand how this works, same day, when people go in and vote at the polls, those votes are counted at the polling place. Early votes are sent to the county seat of each county, and they're counted centrally at the county courthouse. And there is a law passed in 2022, signed by a Democratic governor, that says once these counties start counting their mail-in ballots, they can't stop. So they count until all of the ballots they have are received. Now, in Pennsylvania, any ballot that was mailed and postmarked by Election Day gets counted. So will there be votes coming in Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? Yes. But if the margin is significant enough, then, and the other thing is, if the margin is significant enough, and if you look at the early vote, instead of it being 5-1 Democrat, which it was last time, and so people said, well, wait till these straggling votes come in, they're 5-1 Democrat. If the Democrats are all close, they're going to win. This time, they're less than 2-1 Democrat. So again, it's a little different dynamic than we saw in 2020. And if a Republican has a fairly solid lead, it's highly unlikely that lead's going to evaporate in the next 3 days.
Absolutely fantastic analysis. Rick Santorum, former senator from Pennsylvania. By the way, Rick, in 2006, we were running around saying Bob Casey was going to be a useless senator, and he proved to be exactly that. It's time to send him out. But Rick's now with Patriot Voices. He's with Convention of States. He's a contributor to Newsmax. Give him a follow on Twitter.
Yeah, and tune in tonight. I'll be on air all night tonight on Newsmax, and tune in if you want that kind of analysis on Pennsylvania. And as you said, whoever wins Pennsylvania is going to win the presidency. I 100% predict that today. And so look for some good analysis tonight.
That would be fantastic. Final question for you, Senator. How's Bella doing?
She's great. She's 16 years old. She's our little girl who was born, and everyone said she wouldn't live more than a few weeks. And she's 16, and she is the center of our life. And we are so lucky to have a special girl that is going to be with us in our care for the rest of our life, but we wouldn't have it any other way. We love it.
I remember just after she was born, I drove you to a speech in Pennsylvania. We were working on a client together, and I'll never forget this. You were so exhausted with all the new complications that came from caring for Bella. You fell asleep right there with the phone in your hand. And
I wish I could say that has changed. Caring for a special needs child never gets easy.
No, but she's a testimony.
It's a joy.
She is a testimony to the sanctity of life, and that all life is created by God. The Santorums, wonderful parents to Bella. Rick, thanks for taking time. I know you got a very busy day. Really appreciate your analysis on Pennsylvania.
God bless, Jeff. Thank you.
Senator Rick Santorum giving us some insight into Pennsylvania and helping us understand some key counties to look for and some dynamics. You can see he can get into the numbers. That's why he won. I remember when he first ran against, I think it was Hines. He defeated Hines to become a U.S. senator. He was a congressman, came in with John Boehner and those types of guys. He challenged an established senator out of Pennsylvania and beat him because he could do the math.
Yeah. And you guys were friends. So I want to stay to that one. The only one that I was going to ask is, and I don't think it would help the conversation at all, was can we assume that all of these party voters are going to break and vote for their party?
Yeah.
That's the only thing that I think might be a bad assumption, is because you would assume. Now, I'm just saying.
That would have been a good question. I thought that would have contributed.
I'm not sure it would contribute that much because, and this is the issue, is if we assume that Kamala Harris, Joe Biden has run this country into the ground, it's horrible, you would assume then that some Democrats would cross over and go as far as the Republicans. But if you go the other way and you assume Donald Trump is a danger to America, you don't want him back, or it's just not that, you would assume people from the other party would cross over. That's the only thing that I see in this analysis so far, is everybody is playing based on party affiliation. And I am not sold this election is going to break that way. I think we're going to be surprised.
If you looked at this poll from the University of Colorado Boulder, there is no break in Democrats for supporting Harris and then generic Democrat on the ballot, right? So there's a 2% break for Trump. So there's at least, it seems, more Republicans willing to go like what Francis did and go, I'm going to skip the presidential because I don't like Trump, than there are Democrats willing to do that with Kamala Harris.
And we saw that in 2020. And that is a danger as far as saying we have X number of Republican votes and counting them as X number of votes for a particular race.
But it's not unique to Trump. It's not unique to Trump, and I'll tell you why. Because when I was running coalitions for Mitt Romney in Colorado, evangelicals would not support Romney because he was a Mormon.
Yep, he's a Mormon. Yeah, he's the wrong flavor.
Gosh,
he's the wrong flavor.
Come on, guys! Yeah. It's like they literally somehow believe that the perfect candidate's out there. Ronald Reagan wasn't even that serious. And I think he believed in his faith, but he wasn't like Mike Pence or Rick Santorum serious about his faith. But we can
go back to like JFK, and there was a thing there because of
Catholics
him being Catholic
and all that stuff.
Yeah, and there was a whole thing about the fact that he was going to let this guy in Italy go ahead and make all the choices. Yeah, and that so it always happens. It always happens. Just you're the wrong flavor, and we could even take that and translate that over into what we're seeing in the Middle East with Sunni and Shia. Wrong flavor is Islam. And because of that, you need to die. Yeah.
Crazy. All right. We'll get to Tony. You've been sticking around. Please stick around just a little bit longer. I want to talk to you about our good friends over at Empower Home and Gay Ribble. Did you know that last year over 49% of homes listed did not sell with the real estate agent? Took the initial listing. That means you hired an agent. You went through the whole process. Here's what we want to take the pictures. We want the house to look like. Here's where we're going to go advertise it. This costs home sellers thousands of dollars in lower offers and painful holding costs. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team of Keller Williams have a track record of selling homes fast and get their home sellers 6.1% more money on average, netting their sellers $30,500 more in their pocket. They do this using their proven proprietary systems and guarantees. Go with the team that doesn't just make empty promises, but can actually provide proof of their experience and track record of getting homes sold for top dollar. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team is so confident in the services they provide and the results they get you that if you're not happy, you can cancel at any time at no cost to you. This is their cancellation promise. Call 833-301-SOLD. That's 833-301-SOLD, or go to gayasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE hasthebuyers.com. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. All things election. Just heard from Senator Rick Santorum about Pennsylvania. Man, he gave you the counties to look for, the numbers to look for, the data, all that stuff. Great interview. And like we've all been saying, it all comes down to Pennsylvania. He said we could know a lot earlier than Friday, opposing some of those other commentators out there that say this may go on for a while. Let's go back to Tony. Tony, thanks so much for your patience.
Hey, are you there?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay. All right. Yeah, no, his comments were interesting. The one thing I'd like to know is, what are the independents? What percentage of the early voting is independents? And he didn't speak to that, but he did again say that the winner is going to have Pennsylvania. Something that you might want to keep an eye on tonight. I know I will. Are you familiar with John Ralston in Nevada? Do you know of this guy?
I've heard that name. No, go ahead.
Okay. John Ralston has been there for decades, and he is, you may have heard Nate Silver say Ann Seltzer is one of the best two in the country. John Ralston is the other guy that he was referring to. And he just called yesterday that Kamala would win Nevada by 0.3 of a point. And he could be wrong, but he just never is. I mean, he's always on the money. If he's right, then the thing to watch for, and I'm going to watch for, is North Carolina, because that is a state that she's got a legitimate chance. If she wins North Carolina, and John Ralston is right, Pennsylvania doesn't matter. She doesn't need Pennsylvania anymore.
Oh yeah,
which is amazing to say.
Yeah, well, that's because the math works out that way. That if North Carolina goes against Trump, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and Tony, I did take a peek. Looks like 11% unaffiliated so far. Early votes in PA, in Pennsylvania. 11% unaffiliated.
And so which way do those guys lean?
Yeah, I don't know.
One other comment. That was something I'll watch. Your other discussion about men saying, if my wife voted a different direction. Jesse Waters did indeed say on his show, if my wife voted for Kamala, bye-bye, it's all over. Charlie Kirk, Newt Gingrich came out with similar statements, and Kamala's campaign turned that into a commercial, all three of them, and that's running in those markets. So
I mean, I don't look to Jesse Waters as a paragon of virtue, but you also have Kamala Harris out there running ads about how you should hide your vote from your husband.
In this case, it's not go divorce your husband. It is simply you have a right to vote how you feel.
It's just weird to me.
I was just reinforcing the point.
Sides of those are weird to me. The idea that you divorce somebody over who they vote for, I don't think that's biblical. And then the idea of
Charlie
hiding
Kirk said it would be disgusting.
Hiding who you're voting for either. That's not an indication of a good, strong marriage, in my opinion.
Speaks to the machismo thing. That's all. I mean, I'm sure it didn't.
I don't think it speaks to the machismo thing. I think it's just a weird little side conversation.
Well, you don't hear women saying the same thing about
hide it
men.
from your husband.
If my husband votes a different direction, I have to leave him.
I have to hide it from him.
Well, the hiding. I think Tony's making the point that the hiding is because of the reactions of people like Waters and Gingrich. Because of their reaction.
And
how dare my wife?
Weird.
I know, but how dare my wife choose something other than what I want? She can't do that. And so Kamala's ads are a reaction to that, in my opinion. Just my opinion, though.
That's exactly right. The message is they don't respect women. And she's pointing at Trump. So whether it hurts him or not, I don't think that helps. Those comments coming out of those three guys this week didn't help his cause with women. That's all. Hey, guys, thanks for the time.
All right, Tony, call us back afterwards and let us know what you think about the election.
Yeah,
so
this will be interesting.
Those are like the weird side things that happen around campaigns, binders full of women.
Well, it's like the idea. For me, it's the same thing as with Gingrich and Jesse Waters saying that it's the same thing with Joe Biden coming out and calling Donald Trump supporters garbage. It's like you stop muddying the message. You stop opening your mouth if you're on these extraneous sides of the election and causing problems for your preferred candidate, because Gingrich and Waters' comments cause problems for their candidate in certain areas, and Biden's comments cause problems for their candidate. Yeah, stop doing that. Just as a whole, as I look at this in the last week, I'm like, nobody has message discipline. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. It's very funny, but no one has message discipline. It's very entertaining to see, and it helps us here on the show so much. We would have such a boring show if people weren't opening their fat trap holes and saying dumb stuff. But again, I do that every day here.
Well, speaking of opening your mouth, let me talk to you about Rocky Mountain Dental Group. With all the work I've had done to my teeth, believe me, finding a good dentist makes all the difference. I'd like to tell you about Dr. Mike at Rocky Mountain Dental Group. I've gotten to know him multiple times. He's come into the studio. This is a really great guy, very serious, very technical. I was talking to another dentist the other day, and they're like, wow, we don't do anything near what Dr. Mike does. Dr. Mike at Rocky Mountain Dental Group is next level. He helps people like you and me look and feel amazing by providing the best dental care available. See for yourself all the 5-star reviews at RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. Here's one. Every single person in this office is delightful. Their knowledge and consultative approach to dental care is fantastic. Will highly recommend to everyone I know. If your gums are receding, it's critical to address this issue promptly. Dr. Mike is a top-tier expert in the Chow pinhole surgical technique. This method requires no cutting, no sutures, and virtually no downtime. The pinhole surgery is so painless that many clients go on to have other areas of the mouth treated as well. They also offer sedation, so you can make it kind of a chill afternoon if you have any apprehension at all. Schedule a free consultation with Dr. Mike. Call 303-233-1335, 303-233-1335, or visit RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. That's RockyMountainDentalGroup.com to book your free consultation today. How's it all going to end? Where's it all going to land? Give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Charlie Kirk just tweeting out massive lines reported all over Pennsylvania. Majority men. It's happening. Go vote. Wow, the dude's getting out there. That's great to see. How's it all going to turn out? Would love to hear from you. We'll continue this conversation. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show on this very special election edition. But don't you worry, CU of Denver students, because if today's a really hard day for you, if tonight's a hard night, they have a safe space they've opened up. The adult students, reminder, these are adult students who attend college, can color and do crafts while listening to relaxing music.
I can color?
You can go over there and color.
Dude, I miss my coloring.
And it'll start tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Post-election day peace space to engage in low sensory space with tons of self-care and stress-relieving activities. Why people haven't invaded us yet, it's just kind of amazing.
I think for me is that if
the Chinese government was just pouring over the mountains, like in Red Dawn, what are you going to do? Go to your safe space?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. That to me is just too much. I understand what they're trying to do. I wish they wouldn't do the idea of safe space, because I think it is better marketing wise to talk about it being an election-free zone. Saying, hey, if you're tired of all of this, blah, 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 we're going to do something here that is totally
have some
different.
fun, all that stuff.
Yeah, we're going to have music not related to elections. We're going to talk about stuff. We're going to have things here. We're going to have food. We're going to do anything but talk about what the election is, because we are tired of it. That's a better message than it's hurting your feelings. Again, one comes from a statement of positivity of, hey, okay, we've all gone through this and we're gonna have this shared experience. The other one is, oh, you can't handle it, and here we're gonna support you. And one comes to me the idea of looking at someone being necessarily, I wouldn't say too weak, but again, doesn't have the ability or capability to handle what is going on, and you might need some support. However, they start with, rather than election-free zone, come here and get a break from it, it's, oh, you're in trouble, you're in crisis. That's where I really heard from it.
I wonder too, as somebody who worked for a university, and you kind of take on the role as a professor and as administrator of helping guide the next generation, right? Because that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Toughen up, Buttercup. You're going to deal with people that vote against you. You're going to deal with loss in your life. You're going to lose some of these ballot initiatives, or your candidate might not. Go back to work, study, get ready for your exams tomorrow, and quit allowing this to just consume and tie you in knots.
Which again, if you were letting it consume you and tie you in knots, the idea of having an election-free zone accomplishes everything, but doesn't make the assumption that you can't handle or deal with it. It does everything else. But this, and I appreciate you bringing this up, because it shows the difference of worldview and the different filter that those up at CU Boulder have based on this. Because in other places, it probably would just be the election-free zone. It would be, this is what we're doing. And you can have pizza and everything else there and play a whole bunch of music and do everything else not related in any way, shape, or form.
Half of us are going to lose. In fact, in Colorado, probably more of us that listen to this radio station are going to lose. Maybe not the presidential, I don't know, but some of the ballot initiatives. And guess what? We're all going to work tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not gonna,
I know.
Here are the activities that will be included: relaxing music, coloring, crafting, and other giveaways.
And this is a weird one. I'm not sure this is really smart of me, but I do dumb things on this air all the time. We talked recently about why people wouldn't vote, how they're so disengaged, because they feel that regardless of what party they choose or what name they choose, nothing changes in their life. And this is kind of the thing that I would reinforce is you can look at this election being tremendously important, but the fundamental changes in your life are not necessarily going to be that great, especially if you're in Colorado. There aren't many things that you're going to be allowed or prevented from doing, unless maybe you're a mountain lion hunter in the next 24 to 48 hours, depending on how these things go. There isn't a lot of, at nuts and bolts impact on you getting up and feeding your family over the course of the next, couple of weeks. So understand that there is some distance in all of these, that we are talking about policy choices and positions the state's taking, but the nuts and bolts, again, unless you're out there being a mountain lion hunter, There aren't a lot of them out there that are going to hit you right away.
Right. Very, very true. Jason in Denver says, just put all the students in a room and play the Best of Joe from Arvada on continuous loop.
No, I do Kids Bop. We should do a Kids Bop. That'll make him feel better.
And Barney can call in and whip those kids into shape too. All right, we'll continue. George Brauchler's coming up next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
It is 9 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. It's a very special election broadcast coming today as we are covering everything in the run-up to the election. And it doesn't just end with us. Charlie Kirk, 10-12. Dennis Prager, 12-2. Sebastian Gorka, 2-4. Larry Elder, 4-6. And then we kick it right back here in studio. Peter Boyles, along with myself, Bill Thorpe, Mike Rosen, John Caldera, Patricia Calhoun, Dan Kaplis, Brother Jeff, Ted Trimpa, and many others. They're catering. They're having a party. And you can tune in for the best election coverage. I'm going to be diving through the stats. That's my job. Yeah. Look at the results. Look at the returns coming in, how the county's looking, all that stuff. And then you've got a lot of great commentary and analysis on the
I'm
direction
just
of this
showing up
country.
to piss people off. You know how I roll. It's the fun part is what you can do is you
I
can turn
feel
on that.
I feel like God was like, I'm going to send this guy into the world, and that's
we're gonna
what you've
challenge
been.
you.
That's your mission in life.
It totally
Bill.
is. It totally is. And I apologize to my parents routinely because of it. A number of things I still have to apologize for. The cool thing is, it's much like the Broncos game. Turn on the TV, you can see their totals rolling in, but you've seen them. They just talk and then they say the same things over and over again, the same things over and over again. This is where you're going to get different analysis and something that is much more tailored to what you want and much more tailored to Colorado. So turn on the TV, but then turn the sound down and turn us up. You can still get the visual and see all the totals that you need. They're going to be running them on the screen. They're going to be running them at the bottom of the screen. But now we're going to tell you what they mean. We're going to dive into it and talk about what you're going to see coming, what's happening. Because again, you've been through enough of these election nights and you've seen that half circle desk, and they just basically repeat the same things over and over and over every 10 minutes. That's not what Peter Boyles is doing. He's assembled an all-star crew. Mike Rosen coming out of retirement to do this with us here on KNUS. This is a can't miss broadcasting. So you got to start with us tonight at 6 o'clock. I'm rolling in late. I don't know when Jeff's going to make an appearance, but I'm rolling in later on in the evening to make an appearance and then be told to get the hell out of the studio. That's what's going to happen to me.
It'll be a great show. You're
so
not going to want to miss it. And then Billy and I will pick it up tomorrow morning with all the analysis following. But let's check in first on news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning. Happy election day, guys. 39 and partly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 52 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
That the Democratic machine in Philadelphia dramatically underperformed, and if that continues, then they're going to have a hard time winning this election.
Rick Santorum ran for president, knows Pennsylvania as well as anyone, on with his friend Jeff and Bill last hour. The Republican Party is the party of the working class now, and smart people who cling to their Bibles and guns. Go woke, go broke.
In blue-collar Pennsylvania, Western Pennsylvania, and the way the Democratic Party has completely moved away from their blue-collar roots, and the divisive rhetoric on race and gender and all this sort of stuff has really transformed the electorate in Pennsylvania.
It's going to come down to Pennsylvania, and Peter Boyles grew up in Western PA, home of all the great quarterbacks, and he has a Pro Bowl lineup on tonight here on 710, from Tom Tancredo to Mike Rosen to Dan Kaplis, as you just heard Jeff and Billy talk about. Turn the tube down, stay smart, turn up Pete, right here on the radio.
It could come, I don't know, it's early because early is relative, but or covering his bases. We could be Friday, we could be Thursday before we know. Guys, I would not want to lay money down on this.
Go vote now if you haven't already, and get as many people who love America out to vote. And remember, even pollsters may not know what the hell they're talking about.
For me to see what does this D represent and the R represent?
R is for Republican, and D stands for dictator. Even though messy NBC's No Joy Reid sees it differently.
We've laid out the stakes in this crucial election, where one side stands for freedom while the other meets the textbook definition of fascism, namely a far-right dictatorial regime like Hitler's Germany or Franco's Spain or Mussolini's Italy, but also white-ruled South Africa before Mandela and the black majority took control, or...
So predictable. That's all they do is project. It's like Salem's Dennis Prager.
So every one of your listeners needs to understand this. All leftists, not liberals, I make that distinction every time I speak. All leftists since Lenin, since Stalin, have done the exact same thing. They call their opponents fascists. There is no exception. That is what they do. They call them the worst possible names.
The Justice Department is monitoring voting in over half of all the states this election day. The department says it plans to monitor compliance with federal civil rights laws. We shall see. Here's part of my favorite closing ad. right here as you head to the polls this morning in Colorado.
You want to be a rebel? You want to be a hippie? You want to stick it to the man? Show up on your college campus and try calling yourself a conservative.
America is going to reach heights that it has never seen before. The future is going to be amazing.
Yeah. Yes, go vote. College hoops return. CU over Eastern Washington, 76-56. CSU beats North Dakota. UNC over CC, that's Colorado College. Wyoming wins. Nuggets over the Raptors. Chiefs beat the Bucks in overtime, 36 in Longmont, 37 in Lone Tree, and 39 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue.
I pledge to listen to experts.
Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
There's going to be a lot of weather in Colorado in the coming days. Be prepared. Today, it'll be partly cloudy, chilly, gusty northwest winds, highs upper 40s and low 50s. A chance of snow showers tonight. Watch for slick roads, lows mid-20s. Chance of snow early Wednesday. Could see an inch or two, highs 30s. Flurries Wednesday night, a low near 20. Flurries Thursday, highs mid-30s. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free, no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. He sat in the seat for a while, and due to FTC rules, he made an announcement that he wanted to run for office again. And in light of that, he had to give up the seat, and so they scrounged around and threw the two of us in here.
Yeah, they said, we can't possibly do this with one person in order to fill the seat that George Brauchler and Peter Boyles had filled before. It takes two people. So we found two of the least capable and qualified people
Maybe
to do
if we
this.
duct tape these two dudes together, we'll get a
equal,
George Brauchler.
Maybe we'll equal one George Brauchler. Maybe, just maybe.
And I wanted to just wrap this last hour with him to get a sense of how things are going, because it's brutal. And I've walked alongside many, many friends running for election, because you put it all out there. You get ripped to shreds in the media. Kyle Clark does a news story about you. Half of it's made up. It's just, it's not enjoyable experience to run for office. And then you have the worry, even in a good district like he's running in, that maybe something else will happen. So you don't sleep at night. You're spending your weekends knocking doors and making phone calls. And it all comes down to this day. And I just wanted to check in on him. George Brauchler, how's it looking for you, Jorge?
Yeah.
I want to come back. I think I made a mistake. I look at you two guys as like Tom Brady, right? Like I was Drew Bledsoe in the seat. I stepped out, I took a little hit, and then you guys will end up serving in this position for decades. You know what I mean? The sad part is each of your wives will run off with a jiu-jitsu instructor, but the trade-off is worth it because you get the radio. Things are going well, but I say that with a question mark because, you know, you guys have seen it. Jeff, you've been in it. When you're in a race that doesn't poll, you are looking everywhere for tea leaves, not just in the cup, man. You are looking everywhere. Like, what is the sign that this is going to be the way it should be? I think it's going to be, or is this going to be weird and an upset? And I don't know, man. Like, I am relying on the things I hear 18th hand from polls from House districts and Senate districts and Congress, just to what's the turnout like and what do we read from this? And
well, I tell you, you should be concerned because there's now a big movement out in Elbert County where I live to, release criminals from prison and defund the police. So,
what?
No, in fact, the exact opposite. It's like we're
tired
of this.
I was like, oh my God,
I think
scared the hell
I was at the Back the Badge, Back the Blue. I ran into you there actually event.
Yeah.
That place was what, like 800 people ready to open their checkbooks for police out in Elbert County. So No.
You know what was amazing about that event was Douglas County had their second annual. I think they'd love to be the back to badge when they grow up, but they had their second annual. It was fantastic, well attended. I think Elbert's was bigger.
Oh,
I mean, the people that turned out for that, it was insane. It is a huge event.
Well, I was sitting there watching them auction off guns. There was one gun that I got really excited about. It was an over-under Winchester, or not over-under, but a Winchester with the little hammer release underneath. And I said to Nicole, I said, I think I might go for this one. And that thing got out of hand in its bidding so fast. It had like the beautiful Elbert County design on it. I mean, they spent, I think, $6,000-$7,000 on that gun alone. So people were opening up the checkbook. They were donating. They're ready. And I don't know if an animal rights lawyer is the right person they're going to put in to be their DA.
She'd opened several national parks. Having said that, I would say this too. This is just an insider tip. If you become a candidate or you're even a radio personality like you guys, you get invited to a lot of these events that have the live auctions. Here's the little quick cheat for this. You've got to get your pallet up
quick
first and early, right? So you look like you're super active and you walk away with all your own money. And in no way am I saying you shouldn't try to buy these things, but you got to get up early because as you said, man, within a couple of these jibber jabber things you can't understand what the dude's saying, it like doubles and triples in price. And you're like, oh my sweet goodness, what just happened?
Well, and we're conservatives in politics. And I make that distinction because as conservative in politics, we've taken a vow of poverty. Now, if you're a progressive in politics, you get to become Nancy Pelosi or Kamala Harris. You get to become very wealthy. So you bid early, you do your best, but you don't necessarily have the money to be able to be buying $6,000 guns.
No, but the guns is a big thing.
Yeah, and I was joking with some of the DPD guys there too, going, so does Denver auction off guns at their back the badge?
They're barely allowed to carry them themselves. You know what I mean? They're allowed to carry around a book of demerits. You know what I mean? Like, are you stealing a car? 2 demerits, Buster.
Oh, that's great. Talking with George Brauchler.
I think they were going to work on those rubber band guns we had in middle school, but they were putting their eyes out. And like, ow!
Yeah.
Ow,
but you know what's going to happen? It's going to hit an eye, and instantly Denver settles for $40 million.
Yeah,
I mean it's over.
Exactly. But the sad part about it is whoever got hit in the eye with the rubber band's only going to see half the money.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God.
High five for everybody that got that. High five. Self high five.
That was a good one, Billy.
Billy in the house.
So
Billy
George, give people insight into what you do on election day and how you deal with the stress, the unknowns, all that stuff.
Yeah. So, everything at this kind of a race level is run almost entirely on volunteers. And like anybody else who's running for an office like state house, state senate, county commissioner, you just feel blessed and honestly a bit guilty that there are so many people out there. You feel this pressure to win for them that give you so much of their time. The money part is important, don't get me wrong, but there are people who are willing to just get on the phone and call total strangers and say, hey, I'm Jeff. I'm calling on behalf of George Brauchler. I see you still have your ballot. Just want to see if I can convince you. I mean, total strangers, these people are calling, and they go out and they walk and knock on doors. And I've been with them for these things. And so this morning we had scheduled a sign waving, and it was going to be out in Highlands Ranch. And of course, the forecast last night was cold. And this was a group of largely college students. And late last night, I got a call from someone who was coordinating for me going, hey, as it turns out, a lot of those college students think it might be a little too cold to get out there in the morning. So we converted to a phone bank. And so what we've been doing most of the day, and we've got a break here, we're going to start up again after lunch, is just get on those phones and try to push as many people as possible to vote. I pulled the list off my street. There are only 3 people that it looks like have not voted on my street. One of them is my neighbor's wife. So I texted him last night. I go, dude, come on, please. He's like, oh, yeah, she's going to get it in. She's going to get it in.
I got to tell you a story of phone banking. So we had Rick Santorum on right before you. And I had just started in politics. I was out with him in 2006, worked for him in the Senate Republican Conference. And I sit down to do phone banking. And sometimes the political leader and their families will come in to do a little bit of volunteering. So Rick's daughter, she's got to be 13, 14 at the time or something, sits down next to me, and she starts picking up the phone, and I'm working through my list. And I pick this guy. I call him. He goes, Rick Santorum. Oh, I hate that. He's just going in, laying it. And I'm on the phone with him right next to his 12-year-old daughter. And I'm like, oh, no. I'm really glad I got that number and not you, because that would be a little awkward. You know?
It's interesting too, the responses that you get. Some of them really float your boat. You know what I mean? Like either, hey, I did vote for you, or hey, no, you're on my list, or whatever. And then you get some that mid-sentence, mid-introduction, hey, my name's George, I'm just going to click. Yeah. You know, instantly. And I realize why that is, because when I get calls from numbers that I don't recognize, it's not happy George. It's not like, hey, what's going on? It's like, yes. Like what? I'm waiting for the sales pitch. I'm waiting for that. Hey, how's your water filter system? Like click, click, hang up. So it's tough, but all these people volunteer this time, and tonight's the night you want to come through for them. Yes, of course you want to win for yourself, but you want to come through for them. You want them to leave and know that they made a difference in the community by putting someone they believe in a position that can make a change or keep things going, or make them, in our case, make them safer, create a more just community. And so there's a lot of pressure. The sleep last night wasn't awful. It was just weird. You know?
Well, and George, you've won and you've lost. You've had good nights and rough nights. What's the difference? How do you recover from either of those?
It was interesting. When I lost to Phil, and I've told this story before, you know, our race was the closest of the statewide races back in 2018, but I went to bed having talked to a good buddy of mine who is just a political genius. In fact, he just stepped down from the Aurora City Council, Dustin Zvonek. Dude's a wizard. He's the guy that got Mike Kaufman into the 6th Congressional back in 2008 when he was like 12 or something. And as I was getting ready to go to bed, we were leaving the headquarters for the, you know, fun for GOP. It wasn't that fun. And I said, well, man, what do we do? And he goes, listen, I know the numbers aren't in. There's no way to get there from here. And I go, that's it then. And he goes, yep. And I remember everybody else around me, the family and friends and supporters, they're all incredibly depressed. There's tears. There's just that sense of, oh my God, we lost. And I didn't feel that way. I just sort of sat there and it sunk in, and I thought, okay, man, I mean, now what? He said, go home, go to bed, get up in the morning, call Phil, do the right thing, concede, and then move forward with the rest of your life. And I'm like, it just sounded so simple, but honestly, that's what happened. I went home, went to bed, got up, asked for Phil's number from someone who had it. It was the worst phone call I've had to make in a long time. Sat in my driveway, conceded to Phil, wished him the best, begged him to do what was right for Colorado. And then he said, I guess we're going to go back to being friends. Well, that didn't happen, but nonetheless, it was just tough.
This is where sports is a lot like politics. And for those of us that have been in the trenches where you've laid it all out there with Romney, I worked 7 days a week from Labor Day all the way through the election. So 2 months, it was a drain on our family, very difficult. So for those of us that have been in it, it's like losing a major sporting event, and you see it on the face of the athletes, right? We have put so much into this. We've tried so hard, and it just didn't come up our way. Other years it does. Oftentimes that's stuff we can't even control. There's bigger political wins at stake. You have in Colorado, for instance, you've had just demographic shifts, right? I can't make a better argument that's going to shift people that have moved in here from California to want to become Republicans. They just are progressive by nature. And so you have all these complicated factors. And I remember after Heidi lost too, there comes a few weeks where you just got to decompress, go have some margaritas, and just take time to remember what you're fighting for. And then get back up, get in the game, because this country's worth defending. The state is worth defending. There's so many people in my world, George, that moved out of California because or Colorado because they don't like the direction of the state anymore. This is a beautiful state, and we're 50,000 votes away from turning it back the other direction. Okay, so get to work, continue to advocate for ideas, get good people into whatever office we can get them into, and continue the work of advancing a conservative worldview because this state is worth it. This nation is worth it. So regardless of what happens, take it a few days off, celebrate, or remember what you're fighting for, and then get back into it.
Well, and I got lucky too. After that loss in 2018, the next day I had to travel out of town to go present at a national prosecutor conference. So I got to fly out, leave, think on it, and then I had this cathartic moment, man, of just telling the people as I was doing my introduction for this presentation. I'm sure it was on some mass shooting or closing arguments or something. And say, you know, when you're giving your little brief bio and I'm saying, and as of 24 hours ago, you know what I mean? Like, I was the Republican nominee for Attorney General for the state of Colorado. Today, I'm a loser. And people laugh, and you just get comfortable with the idea of saying, yeah, I lost. And never once, Jeff, did I ever think to myself I was cheated at the polls. I've never thought that. It was, nope, I got beat fair and square. I'm not going to give scandal to the process, and I'm going to move on. So my hope is whatever happens tonight, and I'm happy to give you my prediction. I don't know if you guys have done yours yet.
Let's hear it.
I think Trump loses the popular vote, but by a narrower margin than he did last time. And I think he ends up in that 2016 range of about 306 electoral votes. That's my guess.
Right. Wow. 306. That's a big run for Trump then.
I think it's going to happen. If you look at, a buddy of mine sent me a picture of polls this day in history, basically looking at averages, you know, for national and Ohio and Pennsylvania, 2016, 2020, and 2024. When Trump won in 2016, all of those polls had Clinton up 3 to 6 points over Trump. When he lost to Biden, it had Biden up by 2 to 3 points in every one of those polls. All of those polls, with the exception of Ohio, where Trump is polling 7 points ahead, have Trump or Harris up by 0.1, 0.2, 0.3.
But here's the concern I have about that, George, is the polls are one thing. It's the turnout game that for years, and you were part of these internal conversations within the conservative movement, like we would go talk, conservatives talk about messaging, how we need to communicate, how we need to convince people. And for years and years, Democrats would get together and focus in on process. How do I get the ballot from a Democrat voter to be counted? I just run up the number. It's not about convincing people. I just go get our team's ballots. And we didn't have it in 2020. We caught the Democrats off guard in 16, but 12 they had it, 20 they had it. They've had it in these off-year elections. They have a much better turnout mechanism than Republicans do. And the only hope I have really is that Charlie Kirk built something kind of close to it. But I don't know.
My concern, along with what you're saying, though, is that what I have heard from different county parties is the focus here running into the end of the general has been, let's just make sure we turn out all the R's, turn out all the R's. Now, there's nothing wrong with turning out all the R's, but I think the bigger play is for us to use that information that we have through the various sources to try to turn out those right-leaning unaffiliateds. And I've heard people from the party, second and third hand, say, why are you wasting your time on them? And we're talking 4 of 4 voters, and you know what that means. 4 of 4 voters who are unaffiliated, who lean right, got to get them. We cannot win with Republicans alone. Can't do it.
I think that's been the focus of Turning Point USA and Charlie Kirk. And I've been diving in last week or so into some of his methodology. And what surprised me at first is Kirk's organization isn't going into the regular places. He's not hitting suburbs. He's not going for large population centers. He's going more rural. He's going outside of urban areas and trying to convince people in more rural areas, thinking that is a riper place to find those non-committed or infrequent Republican-leaning voters. He thinks that's where they are. And there's an interesting discussion online about whether or not that will actually prove to be fruitful, or does it take too much time and effort, given the fact that it's much easier to walk down a suburban street and knock on 25 doors than it is to spend 3.5 hours knocking on 15 doors in communities like where Jeff lives, because they're so far away from each other. And so what is the best use of time? Not saying that Charlie's going to be ineffective, just at the end of the day, what's the return on that investment? People are really curious about that because Charlie's trying it very, very differently.
It's really interesting. It's the same model that we employ for trick-or-treating, right? Like in Jeff's neighborhood,
Yes.
trick-or-treating would be painful, you know? So
Right.
you end up loading kids in the car and you head out to my neighborhood.
Yep.
Or Billy's neighborhood, you know?
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Well, George Brauchler, you're running for District Attorney of Judicial District 23. This will be Elbert, Lincoln, Douglas County, back in the courtroom, back putting the bad guys behind bars. It's been an honor to sit in your seat. I wish this means that you'd have the time to come back on the radio, but I think you're going to be busy doing a bunch of prosecuting. But George, it's been an honor to be able to have your seat while you're running for office, and it's great to be able to conclude this election day with you.
Yeah,
and we're going to be hoping for the very best and looking forward to seeing you elected there tonight.
You guys have been very good to me, but let's be honest, it stopped being my seat a long time ago. I mean, I listen to you guys every morning because I like the product and I think it's great, and I'm jealous of what you guys have created there. I'm happy to reveal my greenness over that, but I'm always just a phone call away, and hopefully we'll get back into the studio sometime and yuck it up over some of the good things that we do. But I just want this thing to be over. I want us to move forward as a country, united one way or the other, as best we can do it, and try to get going. But I told Billy off air, Jeff, the rest of this week may be the easiest week of radio you've ever had.
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be a lot of commentary.
Yeah, a lot
that's
of short
for
putts.
sure.
It'll be great.
But George, I believe that one of the great talents God has given me is recognizing talent. I think this is just step one again to greater leadership you can provide for the state of Colorado. So you'll do a great job in Judicial District 23, but there's bigger things ahead for you.
Yeah, and George, Jeff is absolutely right. One of the gifts that he has is recognizing talent, and that's why he didn't want me as a partner. He had to be forced to do
really?
This. Yeah,
you should see the bonus they gave
it's
me
ridiculous.
to deal with you.
It's the only way he'd do it.
George Brauchler, we'll look forward to it.
Yeah, I'll hopefully talk to you guys after the win.
Absolutely.
Here we go.
Have a great
George
one, man.
Brauchler.
Enjoy it.
All right, we'll get to phone calls. We've got them lining up here. Get to those in just a second. Look, for many of us, it's happening. Your hair's thinning. Your crown's disappearing. Maybe hair loss has you feeling your identity is lost altogether. Well, I've got good news for you. It's an incredible yet simple one-day treatment that starts growing your own natural hair the very next day, and it's guaranteed to grow for life. It's the Advanced FUE from Advanced Hair. We've all seen the pills and lotions that come with monthly subscriptions. They help retain what you have. But what if what you want is your own natural hair permanently in specific areas? From Advanced Hair's state-of-the-art facilities to world-class Dr. Tanya Pauls, it's not maybe will your hair regrow. It's guaranteed that your new hair will grow. You decide how much, how thick, and where. It's why Advanced Hair is the winner of Westward's Best of Denver. For your free consultation, $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Call 720-459-HAIR. That's 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. Look, it was DJT's hair that helped him out. Got to have a good head of hair. So go visit our friends over at Advanced Hair. All right. Phone lines are nearly full. You can sneak in here real quick if you'd like. 303-696-1971. Barney and Gary, you guys are up next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's Talk Leader News Talk.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill show. So what are you doing tonight on this election? Billy and I were just laughing about it. Billy is going to be hosting trivia. By the way, where are you doing that?
I'm going to be at Blue Spruce Centennial. So it's
that's a cool
basically
place. Right off of
right down Colorado
county
line.
County line there.
Yep, way down there, way south from where we are right now. But it's Star Wars trivia tonight, so you know how I roll. We're doing Star Wars heavy, but the thing is that you can come and hang out and have some beer, possibly win some free beers and free food as well. And you'll still get all the election results. I'm not going to do them during the trivia. It's just not what we're going to do there. But you can just come and drown your sorrows or celebrate one way or the other. The cool thing about Blue Spruce, over the 2 rounds of trivia, we give away more than $100 in free beer and food. And
That's
you're
very
there.
cool.
Yeah. And you're going to be there for less than 2 hours. So come hang out if you can. Yeah,
so
we'd love to see
listen to
everybody.
this lineup today. Here's what you got on 710 KNUS for all the election updates. And they're coming in. Believe me, Charlie Kirk's posting data he's getting from Pennsylvania. So right after this, from 10 to noon, you have Charlie Kirk, 12 to 2, Dennis Prager, 2 to 4, Sebastian Gorka, 4 to 6, Larry Elder. What a lineup. Then at 6, Pete Boyles is in studio with what could only be described as the greatest political lineup to dissect a Colorado election ever. Listen to this.
This is insane.
So in addition to Billy and I, Mike Rosen, John Caldera, Patricia Calhoun of the Westward, Dan Kaplis coming over here.
Yes,
DC.
he's invading the territory.
Brother Jeff, Ted Trimpa, many others. I think Tom
Rosen.
Tancredo.
I was just talking to Tom on the radio and on the phone.
Tommy the Tank.
In this last break, I talked to Tom personally because we were talking about what time he's going to come on, and he wanted to make sure he had the right phone line. So yeah, Tom is going to be on with Pete again tonight. Rosen come out of retirement.
And in many ways, this is a huge moment for Tom Tancredo.
Yes.
Right? Because what was his
talk
thing?
about this.
His thing, right? Like if I ever
Immigration,
ran for office, my thing would be the sanctity of life. That's what his thing was immigration.
Mine would be snakes, but they wouldn't get me elected.
And he was out on immigration before everybody else. It was him and like Pat Buchanan.
Yes, and everyone made fun of Pat. They took Tom somewhat seriously. We made fun of Pat on it, but Tom was right. Yeah.
And now, like, he could win a presidential election for Trump on this issue.
Yeah.
On the failures of the border.
Yep.
So in many ways, this is the vindication of Tom Tancredo.
This is wonderful for him. This is great.
So great
he'll be here
lineup
tonight.
That'll start at 6. Go to 710knus.com. I think it'll be on the YouTubes as well. Rumbles, X.
I
will
think
they be?
so. I don't know who all's showing up. I know that everybody's on call, so I assume we're going to be doing the video thing.
Yeah. So they'll probably have it there, but you can at least listen to it. 710knus.com.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just going to watch a map on
Yeah. And the best thing is you're going to have the map in front of your face anyway. Just go ahead and turn on whatever your favorite media outlet is and turn down the sound. They will still feed you all the graphics because it's a visual medium. You'll still learn everything you need to, but you're going to have Colorado people talking about Colorado politics and the implication of the election here in Colorado. So turn on the radio, turn down the sound on the TV. You can still see all the national totals. You know they're going to be doing the big map, and they're also going to be doing 1 or 2 scrolls at the bottom to give you all the updates you need. You don't need to listen to those national talking heads because we have got Colorado's voice for you here tonight, and it is an all-star lineup starting at 6.
Absolutely fantastic. All right, let's get to Barney here in just a second. Look, did you wake up with joint pain? Is the election giving you pain all over? Does it hurt when you do even the most routine physical activities? Have they told you it's time for a knee or hip replacement? Stop what you're doing and listen. You deserve a life of comfort and ease with no surgery and no meds. And QC Kinetics, they can get you there. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative cellular treatments for joint pain. That means it's an all-natural approach to harnessing your own body's healing properties to treat the root cause of your arthritic pain. Everybody's talking about it now, and it's so cutting edge. Joel here in our office playing more golf than ever before, thanks to QC Kinetics. The protocols developed by QC Kinetics are life-changing for so many people, tens of thousands of satisfied patients with more every day. Yes, you can have real lasting relief from chronic joint pain without drugs, without surgery, without downtime. Discover your options with advanced regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics. The consultation is absolutely free. Here's their phone number. You ready? 303-900-8986. That's 303-900-8986. They have locations in Aurora, Superior, Highlands Ranch, and Colorado Springs. I was hoping to hear from Barney today. Barney,
Yes. Barney.
give us your election predictions. How you feeling today, buddy?
I feel great, but let me just say this about Billy and you. I'm not sucking up. If you know me, you know I don't suck up to anybody. I cannot hate Philly. I just can't. And to be honest with you, okay, and you doesn't get mad, but Philly and you together actually works better than him and Boyles and him and Brauchler. I can't put my finger on it, but I'm just telling you, there's something different there. Now, so I called about Pittsburgh, but just so you know, Jeff, I don't like your old boss very much. I'll take John Fetterman any day over Mitt Romney. Sorry.
Oh, well, hey, I don't blame you.
Dude, I would too.
I probably would too. Mittens.
Fetterman's really, he's an honest, he's a more real Democrat than they were 40 years ago. I like the guy. So, Pennsylvania, my question is there enough Western Pennsylvania to wipe out Philadelphia or no?
Ooh.
It's a reach. It's a reach. And Rick kind of got into that. What he was really fixated on was the fact that Philadelphia is not turning out. It's not hitting its numbers.
And you know, Barney, I was doing some deeper dives into some of the poll numbers and even focus groups yesterday. And there are some things in the Philadelphia suburbs that if you are a Trump supporter, hold very, very good possibilities of Philadelphia not being as Democrat dominant. Wow. There are particular pockets just outside of Philadelphia where the people that I'm listening to that I trust say that the Trump organization has done a wonderful outreach process. They saw the beginnings of some unaffiliated and even some possible Trump voters in 2020, and they have gone hardcore into those areas, and they believe that's what's going to happen, is they're going to be able to balance out some of the hardcore Democrat support in places like Philadelphia.
One of the things, too, with the unions, forever we thought Republicans hate unions, and most of us do. But I think that we've gotten to where we accept it. It's like a necessary evil, but they don't come after that. The union guy that's making 20 grand a year, 30, 50, 150 a year, they realize that this is about economics and their jobs now. So these mandates have killed Detroit. And let me ask you about Michigan then, because I've got big money on this. I've got a commie daughter, liberal, commie, lefty, whatever we want to call her. So I'm betting her $20 that Trump takes Pennsylvania and that he $5 bet on Michigan. Can he take Michigan? Can Jill Stein screw it up enough that he does win Michigan?
He can, but it's for me, it is a slim margin. That one to me is really toss up. It's a very slim margin. And I'll tell you what'll happen. It's not going to be, in my opinion, it's not going to be Jill Stein. It'll be Michigan's Muslim population. That's what I was going to say, too. That's the group.
They won't show up to vote.
Yeah.
They won't show up.
Yep,
even though they know damn well Trump is going to be more Israel loving.
Here's the thing, man. Here's the thing. I'm listening to some guys that are kind of plugged into the Muslim community inside of Michigan and Minnesota, and they were talking about how not just some of the Muslim community in Michigan avoiding the ballot. They're talking about them actually actively voting for Trump. They could be Trump voters as a protest against what they see as a bad policy from the Biden administration in Gaza. That blew my mind, but there is a significant portion of the Muslim community inside of Michigan that absolutely could pull the lever for Donald Trump based on a disagreement with the Harris-Biden administration, man.
Well, keep in mind, Muslims, I know I know several Middle Eastern people. My daughter was in Jordan. They are very family-oriented, very conservative.
Yep.
And this, men and women's sports, I don't know. There's a lot of this stuff that's really cut at those people like, no, we're not going to buy it either. But I don't know. I was surprised that Brauchler said, what did he say, 320? On the electoral votes for Trump?
He thinks 302. So roughly, he's basically, because Biden got 309, I think. So he's talking about the Biden win being about equal to what Trump's win is, what he's forecasting for this one.
That surprises me. But I'm glad to hear that, because he doesn't care much for Trump, I don't think. But I'm glad to hear that. But anyway, love both you guys. I wish you guys would talk about something where I could call up and scream and rip off.
Just don't worry about it. We'll try to get that later this week,
Barney,
just for you.
We expect you to call in Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Give us an update on your thoughts on all this.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Dude, what are we doing?
I have no idea. I don't know what we're doing.
There are moments where I'm like, we're getting above it.
Yeah.
Above the fray.
Which is weird. Yeah, because if there's one person in this team here that's going to be in the fray, it's going to be me. You know? I get all into the fray all the time.
Well,
I chase the fray.
People, we're coming up on the last 10 minutes before a major election, and people are not calling in to
Screaming.
go,
Yeah, nowadays.
You're the absolute worst. You're going to drive this country into the ground. How dare you? They're calling up to go, hey, we like both of you guys. We really appreciate what you're building here. People get to share votes. We've had Democrats call in. We've had Republicans call in.
Yeah.
Maybe there is something building here.
You're not going to start singing Kumbaya on me, are you? Because I'm not sure I can do that song.
I like election days are just so hard on me.
Dude,
They're so hard on me.
And the thing is,
I like just because here's what it is.
Yeah, tell me.
I'm driving in my life mission to try to shape a community in a way that I think will lead to human flourishing.
Yeah.
Healthy families, limited government, free markets, all that stuff that's typically encapsulated by the Republican Party. And year after year, day after day, we come on this show and we make these arguments, trying to convince people.
Yeah.
Here's the direction we should go as a nation, because we're a community of the people, by the people, and for the people. I'm not out petitioning a king. I'm talking to people. And then once every 2 years, well, every year, but every 2 years you get the congressional. And then once every 4 years, we take a big moment as a country and decide which direction we're going.
Yeah.
And when that doesn't work out, you go, it's like, where did I go wrong? What is happening? What is, all the, and when it works out well, then it's great.
Yeah, which is alternate from my worldview, which is basically, God, that looks weird over there. Maybe dangerous. Let's go poke it with a stick. That's pretty much my worldview.
All right, we're up against the break. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
got a text message in about that CU climate poll, the political climate poll, and my wife is brilliant at this. She was taking screenshots of it yesterday to talk with her colleagues because she works in the pro-life movement, and she was noticing that a lot of the numbers changed today.
So you're telling me, so you put out a poll and they got the numbers wrong and had to come back and change them again from a university, an institution of higher learning in which kids all across the semester are going to be graded down because they put the wrong numbers on the original assignment. Alrighty then, continue. Sorry.
I mean, and it happens because I put out research, but then I would always mark at the bottom of the website any changes we made so people could clearly see why we made any changes. I don't think they've done that, but my wife noticing that shockingly, everything has changed in a more favorable position towards the left.
I love Mrs. Jeff. She's so smart. That is so clever.
Smart.
That is so clever.
Yeah. And another text messenger pointing out that the political climate poll seems to be very light on independence.
That was one of the things when we talked about polling that I did dive into when I went back and looked, is I wanted to see the representation of the independents and the unaffiliated. How were they in this polling sample? And universally, they are undersampled. And I'm wondering if that is something, and we can talk about polling as well, and it's not the right time to do it right now, but hey, we're going to do it anyway. Whether or not Donald Trump's support is being undersampled. We've never had a political cycle where a candidate has been undersampled 3 cycles in a row. So now, could it happen again?
Tomorrow, regardless of what happens, you need to listen to the Jeff and Bill show on 710 KNUS. If it's a hard day for conservatives, I will be here to console you.
Yep.
If it's a challenging day for the progressives,
I'll be here for
Billy,
you. I got your
Billy
back.
Be there.
Yeah, I got your back. We'll talk about it.
And we'll all plan the revolution next. All right.
Or find a safe space.
Charlie Kirk is up next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good luck today.